Hello,
All
everyone.
right. Hello,
Welcome to
everyone.
the second episode of Golden Talkies, or perhaps known as another name sometime soon. Who's to
Who
say?
knows? We're
I'm joined as
back.
always by my lovely co-host Duncan. You'll just have to take my word for it because you can't see either of us. It's a podcast. How are you,
Yeah.
Duncan?
I am good, Jamie. Your
Great.
mic sounds a bit off in my ear, but I'm sure it's the chat rather than your
That'll be
microphone.
fun to see for everyone, won't it?
Yeah, we'll find out. At least, so I've repaired my headset
Yeah.
by taking the soft bit from the ears of a really old like little headset thing. I've
Hmm.
taken the ears of that and taped it over the microphone, so hopefully it's not as crackly now. So
Well,
that's
we'll have to
nice.
wait and see, and that'll be a fun reveal for both of us, I imagine.
Exactly. Exactly. So what's the film from this week, Jamie?
It's a film called Too Late the Hero, which is not a grammatically correct title.
That's right. I referred
Supposed
to
to
it as a
mean.
hero too late to my parents twice
Oh yeah,
without even realizing I'd got it
I
wrong.
kept calling it Too Late Hero, which is also not
Right.
completely incorrect, but at least sounds okay.
Too late hero.
Too Late Hero.
Um is
I
too,
guess
does too late
Too
the hero
Late,
not a hero
comma
not make
Hero.
sense?
Does it?
Too late. No, cuz yeah, I don't know if it makes sense. It doesn't make a lot of
Anyway,
sense, but film titles don't need to make sense always, I
yeah,
don't
I
think.
don't get what this one meant. It's
So
directed. Sorry,
when did it come out, Jamie?
it came out in 1970. Uh, well,
I'm
the other
slowly
films are doing,
realizing
but if you're wanting,
slowly realizing that this is going to become a real trend.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
that is what we've
If
decided to do.
for some reason you're watching this episode first, the whole premise of the podcast is that we're reviewing films that came out 50 years ago this week.
That's
And
right.
in the case, Too Late the Hero came out on the 20th of May 1970 in the US.
And
Uh,
August in the UK, but we'll ignore
October
that.
in the UK even.
I think it is August, but our
Fine,
sources differ, obviously.
clearly, Duncan's wrong. But regardless,
So,
it came out 50
yeah,
years ago in the US.
that's right. So, do you want to start with the historical context bit, or do you want to save
Oh,
that for
yeah, okay, I can
later?
go. So Too
Well,
Late
I mean, as in
the
my bit, as in, do you want to do the historical context bit generally, or do you want to focus on the film
let's do the
bit?
historical context. Why not? Mix it up.
My bit. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, by the way, did we ever work out if all the dates are the same 50 years ago all the time? Did you look that up?
I did not look that up.
No,
It
I
could be.
didn't either. We promised our viewers last week that we would.
Tune
Either
in
way,
5 episodes from now and we'll resolve this cliffhanger.
certainly for now it is, and probably for the foreseeable future until we reach a leap year, and then we can worry about it. So,
Exactly. We can revisit the issue.
this came out on a Wednesday, the 20th of May. Do you
Mm.
know? Do you know who was born on the 20th of May, 1970, Jamie?
I do not.
A good friend of the podcast, Louis Theroux, was born on the
Oh
20th
yeah,
of May,
Louis Theroux.
1970. Yeah,
That's very
our good
interesting.
pal.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I
Shout
meant
out. You can see him in what shows, Jamie? Because he's our sponsor for this week.
I don't watch television.
No, me neither. But
Curiosity Stream.
Louis Theroux, the man, is sponsoring this week's podcast. So thank you. Shout out to him.
I think he wrote an autobiography recently. You can buy that.
Go buy it. 100% of proceeds go to Golden Talkies.
Exactly.
So basically, we're just going to give free promotion to anyone and everything until someone sponsors us.
Eventually they'll pay us. That's the hope.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm still waiting for the paycheck from TakeMeBack.to, who I am once again using as my source for what was going on.
But we can change that anytime. TakeMeBack.to. Just
We
so
can. We can use other date checking websites are available.
you want to
So
keep us on your good side.
exactly, keep us on your good side. So apparently, on today, 20th of May 1970, 100,000 people marched in New York, supporting U.S. policies in Vietnam. Wait,
Supporting them.
Okay, I realize that I've typed this out and I don't actually know whether I meant to type going like supporting or going against U.S. policies or supporting them. We should probably look that up, shouldn't we? Let me look
You
it
should,
up.
yeah. Okay.
Phil, do filler. I don't know. I mean, I can look
So
up and talk at the same time, but
okay. Well, Duncan's looking that up.
yeah.
I don't know. How's it going, everyone? Duncan's not the type, and I don't do research for these things. So
No, to support the Vietnam War.
support the Vietnam War. Okay, I guess they were
But
beginning to pull out, weren't they?
on May the 20th, 1970, more than 100,000 marched to show support for the Vietnam War and for Nixon.
Huh.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Because I
Oh.
typed it out, obviously, without actually thinking, and I was like, oh, it must be a protest against it. But apparently, no, it was a protest for it. That is interesting.
It is. I wonder
There you go.
who history vindicated in that particular struggle.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? Okay, so, well, maybe I should go, actually jump across a couple of my things and go to the Kent State Massacre, which actually happened on May the 4th,
Yeah. That's
Star
Star
Wars
Wars
Day.
Day.
It was the Kent State Massacre, but it was in all the magazines that TakeMeBack.to promotes or shows. It was in all the magazines this week in
All right.
1970, so that's why
Was
we.
there new
Even though
evidence? Or was only
it would have made
being
a lot
reported
more
now?
sense. It would have made a lot more sense to talk about it last week. We're going to mention it this week because it was in the
Yeah.
news. News took a lot longer to get out back in those days. I feel
I suppose that's true, isn't it?
maybe
But,
I
yeah.
don't know. So do
So,
you know anything about the Kent State really?
there was a protest, I assume, in terms of the Vietnam War. A bunch of unarmed
Yeah,
students were murdered by the police, and it was a mass.
I think four were killed
Oh, four were
and
killed. A lot
nine
more were
were
injured, right?
9.
Regardless,
So,
regardless of the numbers,
regardless
pretty
of
bad.
yeah, it's pretty bad. You know, the death count doesn't by any means
Uh,
sort
police
of
brutality.
excuse it or whatever.
Uh,
But
I'm
it's
glad they've dealt with
interesting.
it now.
It's interesting that it's referred to as a massacre. I guess what does something have to be a massacre?
To be
I
a
don't know.
massacre, it has to be violence against a group of unarmed
Right.
people.
So it was a
With
massacre.
the other
Um,
group having weapons.
are you about to sneeze
I
or
was, and I
something?
stopped it. I was very professional. Did you
That
notice?
was man. You should do that voice all the time. That was great. I love that.
Uh,
I thought that was your new way of speaking. You were going to talk about the Kent State Massacre and that point. Oh, and they've wounded 4 students. Oh, I'm Swedish chef. I'm cooking up a meal. I'm talking about the Kent State Massacre. Like that. That's kind of what you
yeah,
sounded like.
I think if a group of unarmed people are getting shot, then it's generally a massacre.
Yeah. What was that in the background?
That's my fucking dog.
Your
Um,
fucking dog. Sound like a human, but
yeah.
all right. Okay.
Alright, come on,
So
guys.
there was also a lot of stuff about the Cold War, just generally, what was going
Yeah.
on, what wasn't going on. You know, same as last week, I couldn't actually read the articles, but I could sort of see the headlines and stuff. So yeah,
So
that
what was
was
going on? This is we're still Khrushchev in 1970, aren't we?
yeah, sure, something like that. I think basically it was the usual paranoia. You know, what are they up to? Do they know what we were up to? That kind of thing. You know, the
Yeah.
Cold War was like that. Okay, yeah. Well, so the Knicks won the NBA the same week that the Kent State Massacre happened. It was their first NBA championship, and that was all over the news as well. I feel like I should really be trying to find out what happened that week, that rather than what was just in the news. But the problem is, I'm only allowed to use our sponsor, TakeMeBack.to, and publications that they promote. So that is
Mm-hmm.
the rules, unfortunately. But yeah,
Uh,
the Knicks won the NBA, which was the first time.
very nice of them.
Okay, so music.
Oh yeah.
Back
Let It
home.
Be came out in the UK this week, right, or close to it. So
Um,
but if we're doing
maybe
where I'm
it w-
guessing, my guess is Let It Be would be leading the charts. Is that true?
leaving the charts. Yeah, it was. It was.
Yeah.
I think it was number 10 in the US, so it was down a bit. In the UK, Back Home by the England football team was still number 1.
Alright.
So I guess that's probably going to be the same until they get knocked out. Which we talked about last week a bit. I can't remember. Maybe I don't know if that bit actually made it in or not. That might have been lost in the great audio loss of last week.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was still, I assume that's going to be number 1 or in the top 5 for a while. Spirit in the Sky by the Guardians of the Galaxy band was also
Exactly.
still
Galaxy
in the top
OST.
5.
Great Titans
Um,
of the era.
Exactly. There was also a kind of a cover of House of the Rising Sun
Okay.
by Frigid Pink, which I listened to. It was quite cool.
Can't say I've ever
Um,
heard of them.
you've never heard of them?
Frigid Pink. No.
I don't think I have either.
Yeah.
I don't know who they were, but the cover seemed pretty good. It wasn't that different from like the Animals one or anything, but
Mm.
it was a bit more 70s, I guess. A book about Mary Queen of Scots was very popular.
Oh yeah.
And the only reason I bring that up is because I watched that film last night. The,
Oh,
the, the, the new one, or not new, but
it
relatively
came out
new.
a few years ago, right?
Two years ago, I think. 3 years ago.
Okay, yeah, I
Yeah.
think I know what you mean.
Yeah, yeah. Have you seen it?
I haven't. How was it?
No. It was alright. It was yeah, yeah, all right. Basically, so I'd say it wasn't on our scale. It was probably give it a watch if it's on, but
Mm.
don't go out your way to watch it. Um, so maybe a rank down from last week's film. Maybe it was good. It was fine. It was a good film.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all my background stuff. There wasn't really
Nice.
anything relevant to the Second World War, obviously.
Yeah.
So
So
the
to
film.
give some context, Too Late the Hero is a film about the
Yes.
Second World War. It is
Yep.
set in the New Hebrides, which is not what they're
Yep.
called anymore. It's set
What
in
are
the
they
South
called now?
Philippines. It's the Republic of something beginning with V. I'm very sorry, I've forgotten.
Let me have a look. You keep doing your talking.
Anyway, so it is set in this British Army base in the jungle. An American officer is sent to join some British troops on a quest to destroy a Japanese radio. And then on the way, they discover a secret airfield that the Japanese have, and it's a race against time to get back to the British base to report what they've seen before the Japanese discover them and kill them all
Yes, that's right.
in order to keep the secret from getting out.
That's right. Vanuatu, a
Vanuatu,
country
yeah.
in Oceania. That is, they now own the New Hebrides. So
So a fun
cool.
fact about this film is that the Japanese were never in that area of the world in World War II.
Yes, I
Made
saw
up.
that. The U.S. arrived in 1942, right?
Yeah.
Despite the fact this film's set in 1941. Is that right? When was
No,
it
it's not
set?
still set in 1942. It's just the Japanese were never there.
Oh, okay. So it's semi, well, not really accurate, but
It's just not
I guess
accurate. No.
I guess the New Hebrides name was probably convenient for like British viewers
Oh yeah.
or
Well, I
American
think
viewers.
yeah. I mean, it was still it was called that up until the 80s. I think it was the 80s of
Yeah,
independence.
right. So
So
yeah,
at the point where this film came out, it was still called that.
yeah. So I guess I mean I don't think that's probably I don't think that's really a major element of historical inaccuracy because it's not like the film revolves around the fact that it's on that particular island. It could really be any
Well, I think the reason I bring it up
island.
is because I think it's very
Yeah.
critical to to the presentation of this film that it takes place in a jungle.
Yes.
Obviously, as we have discussed, there was another war going on at the same time, and I feel this film draws some possibly unintentional, but I think definite parallels to the Vietnamese War. I would say,
I
even so far as to say it's perhaps about the Vietnamese War more than it is about World War II.
I entirely agree, Jamie.
Mhm.
I was on Wikipedia, that great source of knowledge, and
Oh.
it said the same thing.
Oh yeah.
Apparently the one of the
I promise I
posters
didn't rip it off.
featured a soldier in like 1960s garb with an M16
Oh
like
yeah.
standing. I know that's not the main poster that comes up, but that was one. And there's also the line in it that's like the long-haired conscientious objectors
Yeah.
line, which is obviously very
Mm.
Vietnam War as opposed to World War Two. Like you
Yeah.
didn't have hippies
Yeah. I
objecting to
think
it. Well,
even
maybe you did, but not to the same extent. It is quite clearly a sort of cover thing, and it was actually filmed. It was filmed in the same parts of the Philippines as another film
hmm
called Nam's Angels or The Losers, which is a Vietnam War biker film
that sounds awesome.
about a group of bikers that fight in Vietnam, I believe. Apparently, a lot of the same sets were used, but yeah, it was filmed in the same part of the Philippines as that film.
Nice.
So it's very obviously Vietnam inspired,
Yeah.
I would say.
So just to start off, I suppose, with a bit of the plot synopsis, as it were.
Yeah,
So giving you the broad thing, but we start off in an American base camp
that's
and
right.
get our hero, Lieutenant Lawson, or Lieutenant Lawson, as he will come to be known.
Yes, who's
Uh,
played by who, Jamie?
I forgot because he
Cliff
was
Robertson.
Cliff Robertson. Thank you for remembering.
Do you know what else he's been in?
I don't. He looked vaguely familiar, but
He was Uncle Ben in the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films.
really,
Yeah.
holy shit, I didn't recognize him at all.
No, I didn't recognize him either, but that seems to be his most known other thing. Um,
Yeah.
are you
Anyway,
yeah,
yeah, sorry.
go on with the plot. We can go back to that later
No,
when we
oh,
do
well,
our press
anyway,
bit.
so he's relaxing on a beach, the
Sipping a
American
beer.
gentleman get him. He's sipping a beer,
Yeah.
and he goes, "Hey, what's up? What's the good word, Colonel or Sergeant or whatever?" And he's like, "I'm just about to go on my holiday, 4 weeks paid leave." And the
Yeah.
guy goes, "No, I need you to do the suicide mission instead with the British."
Well, he doesn't describe it as a suicide mission,
No,
does he?
but he does say that it involves combat, which this guy's
Yes,
never
a combat
been
mission.
involved in before. He's
And this
very
guy,
explicit. That
yeah.
he's a language specialist. The reason they need him for this mission is that he speaks Japanese, and he's like clear that the reason he got into this particular line of work is because it meant he'd be by a radio, behind
Yes,
wouldn't be seeing any combat, and now it's all changed.
which sets up his character arc very nicely, which I'm sure we'll
Exactly.
talk about
It's a
later.
very
but-
obvious character arc, but certainly one worth discussing.
Yes.
So he's shipped out to be with the Limeys in the New
Yep.
Hebrides, who are all a bunch of lovely archetypes who are led by good old Michael Caine.
Michael Caine.
Michael
He says,
Caine.
you're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off.
He is in full that era of his career mode.
Full Michael Caine. He's really
He's out.
talking like this, and he's just
being
being Michael
sarcastic.
Caine. He's being sarcastic as anything.
Yeah,
Because of course
just-
you were only supposed to blow the bloody doors off, but you've blown the whole van up, haven't you?
exactly.
Oh, that one was
Michael-
bad,
I
Jamie.
can't do Michael Caine for a very
Well,
long.
you just say Michael Caine, as in cocaine.
Yeah, you say
As
Michael.
in Michael Caine. And
Michael-
that does his accent quite well. And then you
Anyway.
fuck up a few words because you're not from that area of the world, so you fuck up a bit. Right, go on.
Cool. Yeah. So there's Michael Caine.
Yeah.
There's a funny jock.
Yeah.
Ridiculous character.
Yeah.
Who has a broken arm and
Yeah.
is Scottish.
Yeah. Who
and
I want to go into later.
All right. And then there's like 5 other acts, and I have forgotten almost all of them because none of them are that memorable.
Yeah, there's the corporal that just follows orders. He's kind of memorable, and then the rest.
Oh, I was going. Yeah, their leader is what's his name? It's Corporal Hanson.
No.
Right.
Wait, Hornsby?
Hornsby. That's it.
No,
yeah.
he's the officer. I'm talking
Yeah.
about the corporal, like the corporal, the one that's below him. He keeps asking to do stuff,
I've already completely forgotten.
and he's very responsible, and he's like, okay, sir,
I'm sure he exists.
okay, cool.
Like I say, most of these characters aren't the most.
The most memorable. No, they focus on individual ones.
They have a lot of banter.
They
Which
do.
is very stereotypical 1970s banter. They're
Yeah.
all very sarcastic. They all make fun of each other.
Yeah.
All sound exactly the same.
Yeah, which is very sort of soldiery, I think.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I did sort of feel about this film is that I'm not. It was very. The atmosphere it has is very boys trippish, like particularly.
Very what?
It's all just boys trippish, it's all just a bunch of lads. They're all
Boy strippish.
boys trip-ish.
Oh, boys trippish, right? Yes.
Mm-hmm. It's a very, very fun time, and even throughout it,
Fun time was had by all.
yeah, it's not the most horrifying depiction of war. Obviously, it gets
Well, I don't know, man. I would
Well,
disagree with that
alright. But
personally.
certainly in the very beginning half, they're all having fun. They're all fun, boys
Right.
having fun.
I would say that's more a coping mechanism though that they're using. I mean, right from the start, you see guys getting shot up, and like, there's all sorts of really brutal bits where like they have to walk over their dead comrades, and
Yeah. There's a
people get
lovely
blown
bit
up,
where
people get blown up by landmines and stuff.
someone gets blown up by a landmine, and then Michael Caine goes up and he's all around us.
It's all around us, you could say.
Surrounding us.
Yeah, I would say that's more.
No, at that point, that's clearly like desensitization.
Yeah, desensitization, I would say, is what I got from the boys trip style
Yeah.
humor. Is a
I
sort
definitely
of-
get it from Michael Caine's character. I'm not sure I
Yeah.
get it entirely from the rest of them.
All right.
Regardless, they are led by Captain Hornsby, who is a posh chap who is played
Yeah.
by the guy who plays Marcus in Indiana Jones. And you remember his name, and I don't.
Denham Elliott.
Denham Elliott.
Yeah, he's very young in this, isn't he?
He was quite young in this. Although,
Compared to
looked up, his first film role was in 1949.
Oh, so he's not that young. Well,
Yeah,
that's
he'd,
20
he'd,
years. Yeah.
he'd have been
Well,
in the business 21 years
okay, so when I say very young, I guess compared to Indiana
compared to
Jones,
Marcus.
compared to Marcus Brody. So it's interesting. This is the second week in a row where we've seen Indiana Jones actors
Oh yeah,
at their
they're all
earlier stage of the career, which is
exactly.
interesting.
Sean Connery next week, folks, probably just coincidentally showing up out of frame.
Yeah, is he?
He's not
What
in it.
was he doing in the 70s? Not. I'm
I
trying to
think he must have
place
been.
him. He must have been, right?
He'd either been doing very late James Bond, or he would have been
Yeah.
laying after the fact.
Oh well, I'm sure we'll
We
come
will
to
run into him again one day.
Sean Connery at some point when we're watching all these films. Surely, sure, Sean's going to be in one of them. Anyway, Michael Caine's in this one, so we'll go back to him.
What did you think? Why not? What he's the nexus, as it were.
What did I think of Michael Caine?
Yeah.
Have you finished your have you finished your summary?
Oh no, I figured we'd just stop for a bit.
Oh yeah, okay.
Talk
No,
about
we can
stuff in
talk about
general,
Michael
and then
Caine.
before we go into specific.
Yeah, I mean he was. I feel like he has a very specific style, especially at this time in his career, and he kind of just fits.
He is
into
playing
that.
himself.
Yeah, essentially he's playing himself, which I'm fine with because I mean I like him.
Yeah.
I think he's a really good
Well, I think
guy.
the thing about sort of films at the, sort of this time is that obviously the main thing you're selling with your film is who's starring in it. That's
Yes.
what we're going to know. So that
Yeah.
also means that there's not a lot of motivation for stars to act outside of their persona. So that's what like people
Yeah.
like Michael Caine, the character, and they just want
Yeah.
to see him with different hats on, as it were.
Yeah, pretty
So
much.
very much Michael Caine as he is in the Italian Job,
Yeah, so
and many other things.
I would say the Italian Job was probably the Oh no, Alfie was the film that set him as that character. Would you say?
I would if I'd seen Alfie, but yes.
Have you seen Zulu?
Yeah, I have seen Zulu.
Yeah, because in Zulu he's not really Michael Caine.
Yeah, he's a lot more
particularly,
serious in that.
because he's playing a very different character. Like
Yeah,
he's a posh officer and
yeah.
whatever. Whereas
The
obviously,
Palmer films is very different as well.
go on. In
I
what?
don't know. The Harry Palmer films, like the Dresden Files and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
Much
Yeah. Yeah. So obviously in Zulu there's the two officers, and I feel like Michael Caine after Alfie and the Italian Job and this kind of film would probably be playing the other officer that is a man in the people.
yeah, I mean that's definitely what he's going for here.
Yeah.
There's a
So
very
I find it interesting that he started his career actually as this like kind of upper class officer type, and you know now 6 years later he's really slipped in, or he's become the Michael Caine that everyone knows and loves.
yeah, exactly. Well, like there's certainly a very clear class theme to this film, there isn't any more film, I suppose, because obviously Denham's character, the Captain Hornby, is competent, basically, but he's been promoted to the station. One assumes because of his class. He mentions they have some Cotswolds, and he's very posh compared to the rest of them.
Yeah. Do you know he was very Blackaddery to me.
Oh yeah, just
Like,
in terms of like.
Not as in necessarily like the character Blackadder, but just the show.
In the
like,
vibe, yeah.
I could see him. I could see him in Blackadder Goes Forth being like, right, chaps, we're gonna have to go over the top now. Good, there's a good lad. Put your hat on. Let's go.
There's always like with him though, it's very much an air of cruelty to it rather than anything else. There's not.
Yeah.
He gets his moments to shine, but
I mean,
you see him do as a sort of commanding officer is that they try and ambush this Japanese patrol, and even though they're ambushing them, they still lose 3 of their men and only kill 5 of the Japanese.
Because they shoot each other, right?
Yeah, they shoot each other.
Yeah.
Like all the men end up shot in the back, as Michael Caine points out.
Yeah.
And like 2 of the Japanese are sort of lying there wounded, and the commanding officer just shoots them in the head.
Yeah, which was another brutal bit.
Yeah.
They went a lot of brutal bits. Yeah, you kind of get the impression that he's trying his hardest, but he's really out of depth.
You can tell that he genuinely believes in what he's doing. He's not.
Yeah, exactly. He's not one of these like totally incompetent, totally I don't know, another word that describes him.
He's not lazy, I suppose you might say.
Yeah, he is actually doing his job. It's just like he's not
shit.
doing it great.
And he sort of one of those people who, like, as things start to go wrong, he gets more and more entrenched in his own
Yes, exactly.
belief that he's infallible.
And Michael Caine doesn't really make it easy for him by
Yeah, exactly.
constantly
They
challenging
come
his
to blows.
authority, which
Exactly.
is, obviously that authority is absolutely necessary as a officer. I think I think he makes like a couple good points. Like there's the bit where he's like, once you've taken on the responsibility, you have to go through with it, which I think is
Yeah.
quite an important thing.
I mean, I feel if you're sort of, I mean, obviously it's hard in wartime, but at the same time, if
Yeah.
you're being led to your death by someone who's not going to be able to protect you, I don't think you have any obligation to them, frankly. But disagree.
No,
So
not necessarily, but I think he's got a point about like they're there now, so like they have to do it. Like it's their, it's not made easy for him, and he has to make a lot of hard decisions throughout the film. Like, does he continue on? Does he continue on with the mission? Does he take back the wounded people? Like all that kind of stuff.
well, to be fair, I don't think
And
those are represented as being tough decisions for him, as in I don't think he ever really considers them, or even quite.
No, I don't know if they're necessarily, but I think they're shown to put strain on him in some way.
They are, but I don't think that strain manifests itself well.
No, I don't think it manifests itself. I think that's a
Listen, I don't. He's not good at his job. That's what we're trying to
No,
say.
that's what I mean. So he has to make all these hard decisions, and he potentially makes the wrong one, or maybe he doesn't make the easiest one, but he makes it very quickly, and then I think that puts a lot of strain on him, especially with the relationship between him and Michael Caine and the other
I
guys.
suppose, but he does. He does choose the wrong thing an awful lot of the time. I think.
Yeah, but I mean, well, they have to do the mission though.
Well, the
Right.
thing is, though, like when it gets to the point, if you remember, when the radio is broken, for example,
Yeah.
and he starts going beyond the scope of the mission and directly disobeying, sorry, his orders.
Yeah. Well, exactly.
I
At
think
that
to me
point,
that's where his defense of "I'm just doing what's required of me" sort of begins to run out, and it's
Yes, and I think
personal pride.
at that point, it's that he's like gone so far that he can't like comprehend failing. Like he doesn't want to
Yeah.
fail because he probably knows that he's incompetent or that he's not able to do his job to his full ability, and he has to cover up for that by taking on the persona of like the officer that's doing his duty or whatever.
Well, I mean,
He
he
definitely
certainly
goes-
they do establish that this is like he's messed up something in the past. This is
Yes.
his chance.
Yeah, and he wants to prove himself.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I think it's actually quite an interesting character that he plays.
I
When
think
when you look into it.
you're certainly giving him a lot more sympathy than I would, but there's certainly something there. At the very least, it's hard to.
Yeah.
He's-
Yeah, I mean, I
difficult
think
circumstances,
I think we
nothing else.
probably have different views on this,
Yeah.
but I think even if you don't have sympathy for him, you can still, or even if you don't have empathy for him, I suppose you can still have some element of sympathy for the situation that he's in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So he's in charge. He leads them
Yeah.
on his merry way to this Japanese camp where there's a radio.
Yeah.
Some small incidents happen on the way.
Yeah.
Namely,
Such as someone getting blown up, someone getting killed
Yeah.
by a Japanese person,
basically,
patrol shooting
quite a
all
lot
his
of
own
people
men.
die on this mission.
Yeah.
Which really doesn't seem like it should have been the case. But
No. Although I suppose it establishes how dangerous the
it does.
jungle is.
But I think it does also reflect poorly on him that this mission, which at least for the first part is just walk from the jungle from here to here, ends in like
Yes.
half the garrison dying.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Once they've destroyed the radio, you could kind of understand it a bit more. But they definitely, it's an interesting one. So something about those
Mhm.
people dying. Did you notice that like the size of their group seemed to keep changing throughout the film?
See,
Like,
the thing is, the issue with me only really like remembering four of the characters
Yeah.
in the group is that like it was just sort of them and the rest.
yeah,
Like-
well that
Seem like there were some expendable ones, and then they'd just be like, "That's Chumley over there. Now he's dead," and you'd be like, "Oh, was he here?" Cool.
yeah, exactly. But as in like, I don't mean changing as in like the people were dying. I mean as in like they'd be like it was quite obvious that on certain days of filming they only had some people. So like when they were camped out and it was a long scene, there was just like the five main characters that survived were like next to each
Oh,
other.
yeah.
But then in the montages suddenly there was like 10 of them going through the jungle, and you were like, I was kind of like, who are these people? I feel like I noticed that. It
No,
felt a bit weird.
I'll be honest, that maybe was more obvious to you with the filmmaker's eye, as it were to call it. But
Yeah.
it wasn't enough to be distracting for me. But like, it
Okay.
was
Yeah.
very much this general sense that I really was not keeping track of who was in the group.
No, I mean, but at the same time, they did establish, I think, fairly early on who the key players were.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like, to be fair, the reason I remember only 4 people is that only 4 of them are important.
Yeah.
Um,
Although I'm trying to remember if any did anyone die that was established in the initial going to the Japanese camp.
they die on the way back, obviously.
Yeah, but did anyone die on the way there that was established, or were they all just
Not really.
The
I
guy,
think
the tower guy, the guy that got killed by a Japanese guy. Under
yeah, I
the
was about to
tower.
say, but he only got established in the same scene he died. So I'm not sure.
Yeah. So he was somewhat established, but not really. Yeah. So that's interesting.
Yeah, so
Makes sense, I
the first thing they see is that patrol we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
They cock it up. 5
Yeah.
people die. Michael Caine says, actually, if you notice, because of dear Hornby's tactics, we ended up killing our own men.
Yeah.
They move on to the tower radio guy, and they have another altercation with some Japanese soldiers, and
Yeah.
he ends up critically wounded. Michael Caine leaves him some cigarettes and says, we'll be back for you, and then he's killed.
Yeah.
At this point in the film, as they're killing some Japanese in the undergrowth, the disgusting jock,
Yeah, that prick.
that ridiculous Glaswegian, awful,
Arsehole. Yeah.
steals the cigarettes that Michael Caine left from the corpse, and then one of the Japanese soldiers who's died has a ring on his finger, and because he is, after all, a greedy jock, can't resist prizing the ring off his finger, and when that doesn't work, he gets his goddamn machete and chops off the finger just so he can
that's
have
right.
precious gold or haggis soup.
That's right. Yeah. That's a good bit.
And then they get to the Japanese base.
Yeah.
And they're all sort of hiding out under a building. On the way there, the radio breaks in a weirdly preventable accident where one of them falls into the stream.
That was the funniest shit, man. It was like he just it was like watching a fat person like fall as they cross a river. Like he just
It's a
slipped a little
river
bit.
with like tiny, like maybe like 5 centimeters deep.
Yeah.
Go across. There's only one stepping stone, and then they get across.
Yeah.
Michael Caine has his hand. It takes the character maybe a full minute to get across, and he falls over.
Do you think Michael Caine dropped him though?
On purpose. I guess they did accuse him of that.
Because that's implied or suggested by the officer.
Yeah, well, that's what the officer suggests. But I think that's just showing him as being paranoid at that point.
Right.
I
suppose the radio pack's probably very heavy.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Probably at this point, Michael Caine had a disagreement with the officer, and he's now been because he shouted at him. He's been placed under court martial.
So, I mean, Michael Caine wants to just turn back.
Yeah.
Which is not great.
No, but also perhaps the most reasonable thing to do. He's certainly proven.
Well, yeah, but in these situations, you can't really. That's what goes back to the kind of like having to do your duty thing. Because all the warships are going to get blown up if they go back.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
it's tough.
Right now.
Okay, so apparently a radio during World War II weighed 10.6 kg. Oh no, total weight of 38 pounds, 17.3 kg.
I mean, that is heavy.
For the backpack.
But at the same time, it's still a constant weight. I feel you can still get across the storm.
Yeah, it doesn't feel heavy enough to like make you unable to walk. I mean, he'd be walking for a long time, I guess.
Yeah. You could still just pass the radio across the pond. The pond is
you think so? It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous, and the fact that two things smashed. It was such a light fall.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, this is a combat radio.
Yeah. Do you think that maybe like they wrote down on the script like they have to cross it, the man falls over and like the two bulbs are smashed. Like he was envisioning a much deeper stream that would actually.
Yeah, and then they got to the set. They got to the set that had been used by Nam's fighters, and they'd fucked it up, and it was just a little stream now. And they were like, "Oh, we're gonna have to make.
We'll do our best."
And then the actor was like, "Well, I'm not falling over fully. I'll just slip a bit." And they were like, "Come on, man." He was like, "No, it's not my contract." So he just like sat down,
leans over,
sat down a bit, and then he was like, "Two of the things are broken, and we don't have any spares because we didn't think we need spares when we were crossing the jungle and getting into combat with Japanese soldiers."
Actually,
Yeah.
this is a great
Ludicrous.
showcase for this film's second type of joke that it has. This is a
Yeah.
great film, obviously, for if you like sarcasm.
Yeah.
But if you love that one joke where an American says something and the Englishman doesn't recognize the expression, or vice versa, then this is a film for
was
you, buddy.
was there those?
There were
I don't
tons
know
of
if I
those.
didn't know if I noticed those.
Really?
Give me a
Oh my
couple
god! So
examples.
like, there's one where it's like saying, he's one deck like at the very beginning. So this particular example is saying, "Oh, there's two tubes broken," and the guy goes, "Tubes," and he goes, "Valves to you." Wink. And then there's
Yeah.
like at the beginning there's a bit where he's like, oh, he's got one deck card short of he's like one deck short of a house of cards. I'm like,
Right.
what's that? And he goes, he lost all his marbles. And he's like, what? And he goes, he's cuckoo. And he's like, oh yeah, cuckoo.
Oh man, that your Michael Caine impression is so like up and down.
Terrible. Yeah.
Amazing. It was like perfect when you said Michael Caine and then you try. Oh, that was good. That was good.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
there.
thank
Was, yeah, okay, there were some good bits. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Anyway, so they get to the Japanese camp. The Captain Horny.
Horns, Captain Horny, Captain Hornsby. Yeah,
Captain Horny.
yeah, Captain Horny. What's
Captain
he
Horny
do?
says goes beyond the scope of his mission, and he says, we can just use the Japanese radio. We don't need our own radio.
Yeah.
And the American lieutenant's like, that's beyond the scope of our orders. I'm not following you if you go with that plan.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, you will. Like he believes in his like inner spirit. He's like, oh
Yeah,
you
he's like you are a hero. You are a hero. Which of course, spoiler alert, he is later on.
But he's
But
perhaps
that's
too late.
maybe he could be too late. The hero.
So he's like, it's like with like a child, like if a child's refusing to go somewhere, then you pretend to leave them, and then you're like, oh, they'll up.
Yeah, it was
Like,
just like that. It was exactly like that. Yeah.
His strategy is like, when you see that I'm in mortal danger, you'll come out and rescue me. It'll be fine.
Oh, and then Michael Caine's like, well, you're not gonna go, and he's like, I told him I wasn't going. And it's just like, there's this bit when he's at the window and he's like, come on, and he's like, I'm not going. Yeah, it was funny. Oh shit.
Yeah. So at the end of that debacle, the Lieutenant Horny tries to call the Japanese radio officer, but he doesn't do it properly because he's not.
Yeah, he hits him over the head.
So they both he and the radio operator both get shot. Then I think
So-
everyone on
Actually,
the unit dying.
backtracking before we talk about that. So number one, I when I was watching that scene, I was just like, imagine if stealth missions in games were like this easy, because
yeah.
he like stands up in British uniform,
He gets rid of his hat.
waits for the Japanese guy to turn around, then he just walks across and walks in. And then the other guy does it as well, and then I'm sure the American could have just got away with it as well. Like they just walk across. It was amazing.
Yeah, they get rid of the hat, and then it's like,
Yeah.
okay, it's dark.
And there's no
Be able to tell.
tension. There's no
Yeah.
tension. Like it's not even like you're like, is the sentry going to turn around? He's just standing staring the other way.
It's slightly weird because the tension builds up while they're planning and whilst they're arguing about whether or not like he's going to go.
Yeah.
And then, but like as soon as the operation starts, like the tension goes away whilst they just sort of do their own thing.
So
and
that
then
to
it
me
goes back up.
That to me kind of felt like they had to set it lined out, and they were like, man, there's no way that we can have them creeping across. How could we get them in that radio room that's across the clearing from the bushes we've got them in? Oh,
See-
let's just have them walk across.
See, the thing is, I know you say that, but I actually think that strategy probably would actually work.
Probably it was.
It
It
looks
actually,
like you belong there, and you just take off
Yeah.
like the hat, and given that it's nighttime as well, so like that's the only big identifier. If you just purposefully go.
Well,
you
the thing
belong
is,
there whilst the
I'm
sentry's
not
looking
sure.
away.
I'm not sure. I feel like that's a technique that works in a lot of cases. Like there's a classic thing of like, if you're just confident, you can get in anywhere.
Yeah.
But I feel like when you're at war, and your literal job is to overlook for enemy invasion, I don't think it would work. Surely.
Well,
Like if I go into a bank dressed in a suit and just like walk straight through to the back bit, I might be fine, because they're going to assume, they're not on high lookout for people trying to infiltrate the base. But if you're at war and you're a Japanese soldier, surely you're going to be like, who's that guy that's like a foot taller?
Yeah, but
than
that
one
guy's
of
probably
us?
been like on watch for like every night for a week, and this is like hour 3 of 5. You know, he's probably not giving it his full go. He's
Yeah,
looking
but
at
it's a,
there,
it's
cool
a
in the
critical
jungle.
period, Jamie. It's a critical radio transmission period. No, all right, all right, all
It
right.
didn't stretch my disbelief too much. I think if they'd gone on
No,
too long, like the fact that they're
but yeah,
discovered immediately does help.
I think it would be cool if, but you know, that would make games a lot easier, right? Like if
Hmm.
you were playing a stealth game and you could just like,
Isn't that basically what the Hitman franchise is
that is
all?
kind of what Hitman's like. Yeah, I guess it's kind of Hitman. Fair enough.
Uh,
And then the other bit before we go
mm,
on to the big battle that goes on there. So the radio operator wakes up
yeah.
and shoots them. So
Mhm.
it wouldn't have made any difference if the American had gone across,
I think
unless he'd somehow if he'd got there before the guy woke up and noticed that he was
yeah.
about to wake up, then it would have made a difference. But otherwise, it's really not because the guy would have still woken up and shot one of them at least.
I think the implication is that he was only able to get the drop on them because Lieutenant Horny was staring out the window and the guy.
Oh, staring
You
out
know,
the window,
whereas
saying,
if
"Come on, come on, come
yeah,
on."
if the American had been there, there'd have been like
Yeah,
a pair of eyes, and like he wouldn't have been able to get the drop on them.
yeah. So
Uh,
I kind of sympathize with the American because I feel like everyone's been in that situation where like you don't want to do something, and
yeah.
you will literally come up with any excuse to not do it,
Well, the thing is,
right?
the American is right. Like he is following
Well,
the.
okay,
His,
he's right, but
yeah.
at the same time, it's quite clear that he kind of should go across because
Yeah.
otherwise they're gonna die. You know,
Yeah. I
like
mean,
he's being stubborn, and he might be being stubborn for a good reason, but like there's a point where he should have he really ought to have
yeah.
been like, okay, they're in there, like I've got to go. But I sympathize with him because I feel like
Yeah.
everyone's been in that situation where you just make as many excuses as possible to not do whatever you don't want to do.
I mean, I think the Americans' like characterization up to this point has been very clear that he treats this as a job, as it were. Like it's
Yeah,
something that he does what he's agreed to do. He's not going to do anymore.
exactly,
Get paid
exactly.
for it. This is what he's
Which
been
I
asked to
think
do.
is something that a lot of people do, and I've
And I
certainly
think, to be
done.
fair, it's probably the correct attitude to bring. But at the same,
Yeah, I mean, it's not the best attitude to have though in life. Like, obviously, this is different because it's a life and death situation, and
yeah,
like he's obviously very much someone that just wants to survive the war, which is, I mean, that's a whole other thing to that you could talk about where like, you know, obviously, you, other people are risking their lives. Is it right for him not
yeah.
to? But also, you can obviously sympathize with him because you don't
I
want to.
suppose yeah, what I'm trying to say is that I don't interpret his actions in that scene as cowardice. I interpret them.
No, I wouldn't interpret it as cowardice, but I'm just saying that it's like definitely something that everyone's done at some point in their life
Yeah.
where they've like
I'd go
avoided.
so far as to say it's honestly maybe closer to laziness, even though it's not the correct word. Reticence. That's
Yeah,
the word. Uh,
it was stubborn as well.
yeah, stubborn as well.
Yeah,
But regardless, Captain Horny gets shot in the back. He sort of does
yeah,
a scramble outside, and he dies right in front of him.
staring at him.
Very clear that he could have
Yeah,
stopped that death, and this is his big turning point as a character.
that
Where
ignites something in
exactly
this
the
guy.
force of change. Uh,
Yeah,
so he leads the remaining 4 men, not five men in the unit total at this point.
is that
And
right? Yeah,
yeah, they do
this is what
they
the
do
engine drive.
destroy. Yeah, they
Yeah,
do destroy the Japanese radio, which I'm sure
they
everyone
do.
was very invested in.
Well,
Uh,
it's quite important. Yeah.
uh,
Oh man, I just drank some water and it went down the wrong way.
Duncan's
Oh,
caught COVID-19. He's gonna die.
oh no, no! Don't spread the fake news.
Uh, so anyway, a secret Japanese airfield. No one knows about it. They didn't know it was
Yeah.
here.
Oh, that was cool.
They,
The way they covered it up was awesome.
how did they cover it up? It was.
Like they put branches over all the planes and like
Oh, okay.
the hangars were all made of like sticks that were the same color as the ground. So it was like a totally secret.
Ah,
Because
okay.
that was the point. Was it wasn't just that no one knew about it. It was actually a secret one.
Yeah, it was definitely a secret.
Yeah.
Well, like
You know
they
what I mean?
talked about how the US had done like aircon on it.
Yeah. So they
Stuff. I just thought they missed it.
no they covered because remember all the when the Americans are spotted, the first thing they do rather than start shooting back at them, the first thing they do is grab all the big branches and like repark the planes and stuff.
Okay.
Did you
Okay.
miss that?
I did miss that. I'm sorry.
Okay. It's probably
This film's quite boring. Not to.
it's probably my military expertise, Jimmy. that I spotted the subtle
Exactly.
thing of
Yeah.
grabbing like 100 giant branches and chucking them on top of stuff and parking all the planes in hangars that were obviously not hangars. It was pretty
Duck
subtle. It was pretty subtle, yeah.
Clearly. Anyway,
Anyway,
they discover the secret airfield, and the Japanese spot them. They shoot at them. They lose one more guy,
yeah,
and then they're off hot-footing it, running into the jungle.
that's right.
Use secret information. They got to get back home, tell it, otherwise bad things will happen.
That's
Those
right.
men-
And of course,
they'll be
of course,
bombed.
the radio's broken after
Exactly.
a little
After
incident.
that climactic accident.
Oh, I've fallen and I can't get up.
Anyway, thus begins the second half of this film, which is vastly better and also very weird.
You thought the second half was better? Yeah.
I didn't like any of this film that much, to be honest. But second half's better.
The transition
Yeah.
between the fight at the radio bit and the airfield was cool because they finish the fight at the radio bit and they get away, and then you see like an engine being started by someone wearing a white jacket, and you think that it's the American that's like that it's got away,
Yeah.
right? And then it kind of cuts to reveal that it's actually a Japanese pilot at the airfield, and then you're like, oh, what? Because at that point I was like, oh, so this part of the film, that part of the film's over. Like, there's I don't know what's going to come now, but he's got back.
Yeah.
But then I thought that was a cool transition. I don't know if you noticed it.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
No, fair enough. I wouldn't expect a pleb like you to.
Clearly.
Pick up on these
I'm
things.
falling behind. I've
Yeah.
got to be honest. This
Anyway,
is showing
that
me
was
in a
cool.
great light.
That was
Anyway.
cool. Right, back to your synopsis.
Back to the synopsis. Yeah, so at this point, they hear a sort of radio speech coming from nowhere.
Oh, that was
This
like, it was
is-
like the Hunger Games, wasn't it?
It's very hungry. I've thought of Battle Royale because I'm very cultured.
Oh, that's a great film.
It is a great film.
Have you seen Battle Royale 2?
Of course not.
It's awful.
It's awful. I've only seen it.
I watched the first one and then I watched the second one a day after, and oh my god, that film is awful.
I'm surprised.
You're right. I wrote down that it was very Hunger Games, but it was very Battle Royale, especially
Exactly.
since the guy was Japanese.
Yeah, maybe that's the reason why. Maybe it's not that I'm more cultured. Maybe I'm just racist. But
Yeah, maybe. Much like the characters in this film.
exactly.
Although I don't know how much it's racist when
This
they're your
film
enemy.
has a strange attitude, I would say, towards the enemy, as it were.
Yeah, they're kind of portrayed as almost not that bad.
They're very
IRL.
they're portrayed very positively.
So
which is-
part of that I was wondering. I was going to talk about this later, but I'll do it now. So the guy that plays the main Japanese major.
yeah,
he's
Ken Takakura.
He's an actual Japanese actor.
Yeah. He was
the-
in over 100 films before he was in this film.
Yes.
But I noticed that in the opening credits, they still say introducing Ten Takakura.
Well, to the American
Yeah.
audience, because I looked at his filmography and I think
Yeah.
I might be wrong, but I think all the other ones are Japanese films.
At that point, yes. But
So
it's
he-
still
so he
a
was-
bit
he-
ridiculous.
Yeah. So he was actually Japanese,
Mhm.
and a lot of the crew seemed to be Japanese as well.
Oh, I didn't notice
based
that.
on my slightly stereotyping names in the credits, but I mean Japanese names are generally pretty distinctive, I would say.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if maybe there had been some sort of involvement to make them seem less bad. I mean, obviously they still hang the Scottish guy, but that's because he's an asshole.
yeah.
So that feels right. That feels like the right thing to do.
So, yeah,
And the characters always talk about them as if they're really bad, which obviously a lot of Japanese soldiers were, or
Yeah.
a lot of
I
all
was thinking-
the prisoner of war camps and stuff.
Yeah, I don't think any of us
So-
are going to be defending 1940s Japan here.
No. So I found it interesting that the portrayal was actually not too bad, because they hang the guy that chopped off one of their fellow soldiers' fingers, and
Yeah.
like
But it's because
also
he
is
did
an
that.
asshole. Yeah, because he
Yeah.
did that, and then they treat the other
Because
two
he's
not too
a
badly.
disgusting jock. They gave him
He's
what he damn well deserved.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Yeah, I was going to say, Ken Takakura, do you know what some specific films he was in that maybe a Western audience would be more familiar with?
Do you?
I do. I have 3 written down here.
Give me
for
them.
So he was in the film adaptation of Golgo 13, which is a very famous manga about an assassin. It's the longest
Sure.
running manga in the entire world.
All right. I went to the manga museum when I was in Japan.
Did you see any? You will have seen some gold
Wait.
and stuff.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have recognized it.
Let me look it up. What's it called?
Golgo 13. Golgo 13. He was also in 47 Ronin, which you may remember had a Western remake with Keanu Reeves in it.
Right. I've got some manga for you, by the way, man.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. I bought some when I was in Japan. I've still not been able to give it to you because we've not seen each other for like a year.
It's very sad.
Yeah.
He was also
Anyway.
yeah, sorry. He was also in Ridley Scott's Black Rain.
Right.
I think his biggest role.
Okay.
But anyway, he plays. Oh yeah, and also he won the Japan Academy Prize for outstanding performance by a lead actor 4 times, which is more than any other actor in Japan.
Right. So he's pretty good.
Even at this point, he was like a really respected Japanese actor.
Japanese actor. Okay.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Probably more. I mean, it's hard. Obviously, Michael Caine's in this film, but like at least compared to any of the other Western actors, probably of higher standing in his home country.
I mean, Henry Fonda was in this film.
Yeah, a weird thing I'm just going to bring up, just because I also brought up the interesting thing, is that the credits to this film, the opening credits, they say guest starring Henry Fonda.
Yeah, because he's not
Yeah,
in
how
it
that works in the film.
at all.
Which character is he?
He's the general at the start that sends him off.
Oh right, yeah.
I would say guest starring is pretty accurate. Like he's
Can you have guest stars in films that just seem?
Yeah, I think so. A cameo, I guess, would be the better appeal, but they're not going to put in the credits like cameoing, featuring as a cameo. I think that's what it means. It's a cameo.
Well, nowadays they usually say something like Henry Fonda as the Colonel or something.
Yeah, but that implies. I think that implies that he's in the whole film.
I get it. Just guest starring seems weird. I don't think I've ever seen that in a film before.
Well, maybe it's more like of the time.
Time, yeah.
I guess like a lot of sitcoms.
Well, sitcoms have guest stars. That makes sense because
they have it now, yeah. But I don't know. Maybe a lot of TV show. Maybe more TV shows had that.
No, I completely understand how it works in a TV show because, you have like 19 episodes of the season, and then the 20th you get I don't know, Williams in there, and she's like a guest star and teaches a lovely, wholesome lesson about tennis.
Yeah.
But in a movie, he's just starring in a small role. He's not a guest star. He's just in it.
Yeah. Well, I feel like guest star is not too inaccurate a description of what he is. So we can talk about Henry Fonda now then. While we're at this point.
Cool.
Well,
who is he?
You don't know?
So
he was in. He's a pretty good actor, a great actor. He's one of the great actors. I think people. Would you say people consider him that? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'm making it up. He's good anyway.
Yeah.
So he was in 12 Angry Men.
Oh, that's where I've seen him from.
You've seen that, right?
I'll be honest, I haven't seen it yet. I mean to.
All right.
I do recognize his face from screenshots.
Oh, okay, from screenshots. Yeah, so he was in that. He's pretty good in that. He plays. Which juror does he play? Is he the main guy that? I think he's the main guy. Let me look it up. In 12 Angry Men, the juror that changes.
Oh yeah. Now I see him as a little younger. I recognize him a lot more.
Yeah. So he's the juror that changed everyone's mind. I think. I don't want to say that wrong, but I think he is.
Oh.
So he was in that. He was in The Wrong Man. Have you seen that one?
Nope.
The Hitchcock film. It's pretty funny. So it's a pretty good film, but the whole premise of it is that one man gets mistaken for another one because they look identical.
Isn't that half Hitchcock films? The plot of
that's quite
West as well.
That kind of thing is quite common in his films. But there's quite a funny bit at the end where they walk past each other and it's supposed to be the big moment where they see each other, and they really don't look very similar at all. And the whole film's premise up to this point has been that they are indistinguishable, they look identical to each other.
Yeah.
And they don't at all, which is quite funny. That's a funny little bit. He's been in he's been in loads of classic films. He was in Once Upon a Time in the West. Have you seen that one?
I've heard about that one. Yeah.
You've heard about it?
Yeah.
I've not seen it, but I've definitely it's one of the most famous westerns. Considered one of the best westerns. Apparently it's not. Apparently it didn't get a great initial response, but it's now a classic thing. Anyway, so he died. He died in 1982, age 77. So this was kind of towards the end of his career, or somewhat towards the end of his career. This film, they were talking about. So I guess that's why he's guest starring in it. But
Okay.
yeah, he was the guest.
I will
star.
say his turn as the Colonel was fine.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have said
he did the
nobody
job.
else could have done this job.
No, absolutely not. But I think I quite like it when you get
Yeah, that's
these actors. It's kind of like in 1917. It was you had like Benedict Cumberbatch and
Yeah. Well, I think Benedict.
the other
I
guy.
mean, I don't rate Benedict as an actor. I think he's a bit lame. But
Oh
like
my
defined,
God.
like that was definitely a role that called for certain.
Yeah, and what's the guy's name that was in Dunkirk as well?
Oh,
Also
Harry
in
Styles.
1917.
I don't know.
No, the
I didn't see Dunkirk.
you don't see Dunkirk,
No.
Jamie. It's like the best film ever.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Man, all right.
A lot of films about
Dunkirk
World War
next
II,
week.
including this one.
Next week we're watching Dunkirk. Who am I thinking of? Kenneth Branagh. Is that his name? Kenneth
Oh,
Branagh.
Kenneth Branagh. Yeah, what? Why?
He was in Dunkirk and he was in 1917.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's in 1917, I think.
Yeah. It was more that I didn't know he was in Dunkirk.
Yeah, he does the most emotional bit in Dunkirk. But anyway, if you've not seen
Cool.
Dunkirk, I won't spoil it for you.
Yeah.
I mean,
Thank
I
you.
assume you know what happened at Dunkirk.
They win and take back France, right? Then
That is
they
D-Day.
turn it around in
That
front of
is
those Nazis.
D-Day. That is
I know that.
D-Day.
I was making a fun
I know.
joke.
I know you were.
Cool.
I got it.
Right.
Okay, where were we in the synopsis? We've gone on a
charming
fucking
villain
huge
played by
tangent.
Takakura. He
Yes.
does a speech of the tannoy, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Okay, folks, here's the deal. Here's the dealio.
Yeah.
The flim flam. You have this information. We can't let it get out until I think it's like Tuesday." He says, "Like then we're
Yeah.
doing a raid. This thing will be revealed, so it's fine.
Yeah.
We're going
And
to
we'll
chase
let
you
you go."
down. As you come closer and closer to your home base, there's going to be less and less potential routes that you could possibly be choosing from.
Yeah.
So we are going to catch you eventually.
Yeah.
But if you surrender now, then we'll keep you here for a few days. We'll let you go afterwards,
Yeah.
and that'll be the end of it. So basically, it's like you can choose to run away or you can choose to surrender.
Yeah. And of
so-
course, the dumb, stupid fucking jock
cowardly jock.
says,
Immediately,
says,
like,
"Oh, that sounds nice. Here, that sounds fucking nice. That sounds alright. He'll look after us." And then the wise, clever
American
Michael
who
Caine,
needs to tell
Michael
him.
Caine and American turn to each other and go, "That's not how the Japs treat people, is it?" And I use that word as a quote
As a
from
quote.
the film. Are you that word's bad, right?
Yes.
Okay, but it's in the film, man. Okay. He says that's not how they treat us, man. I know all about these Japanese people. And then the American goes, "Yeah, you're right, man. They're not gonna do that. Hell no, we're not letting ourselves get caught because he's a hero now, of course."
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
so-
the other guy is the soldier that's now injured. That's like the professional soldier guy. Do you remember him?
No.
The one that gets killed by the horrible, disgusting jock.
Oh yeah. I remember now.
Yeah, so he's like he agrees with them, I think, because he's a seasoned veteran, kind of crazy injured soldier, and he's like, "Yeah, you're right." And then the other two is the corporal that I was talking about earlier, that just goes along with whatever, and the other guy that's even more forgettable that I literally can't remember at all. And they both side with. For now, the
especially
American
side of them, yeah. But you can tell that they're swayable.
Yeah, they're exactly. They're open for
a bit of desertion later.
Yeah, a bit of desertion, quite.
But so like the Japanese guy's current strategy is to speak on the radio, and then he says he's making 5 separate speeches that day, so one of them will be guaranteed to reach them.
Yeah.
So one of the weirder things about this film is that the Japanese apparently have radios everywhere and loudspeaker systems.
No, man, they put
even up to the edge of the British camp.
What are you talking about? You see them climbing up the trees and picking them up as they move.
Yeah, it seems like a waste of time.
Why? They need to contact the people, though.
I'm gonna be honest. You caught me out. I didn't get that.
You didn't get what?
I thought they just had them up. I just thought they just had them in the trees.
Man, you see, because initially you don't. You're like, where's this coming from? And then by the third speech, you see, there's 4 or 5 shots of Japanese soldiers climbing up trees and setting up loudspeakers.
Okay, I understand what those are now. I thought they were taking them down.
Right, good. Cool. So so that's yeah.
Only the top tier film analysis in this podcast.
Oh my god, amazing. Yeah, should we talk about Battle Royale? Can we talk about Battle Royale
If you
a little
want to.
bit? I mean, just a little bit. It's really good film.
It is a
It's
very good
great.
film, yeah.
Man, the Hunger Games. I refuse to believe that a lot of the Hunger Games was not stolen from Battle Royale.
Has she ever commented on it?
Yeah, she denies it. She said she'd never heard of Battle Royale or seen Battle Royale when she
I
wrote
don't
the
believe
books.
that. Yeah,
And it's the basic idea, I would believe her. But when I was watching Battle Royale, I watched it a few months ago. I was just like, there's so many similarities. Like there's like the couple, the unlikely couple. There was a bunch of the like specifics of what the game were that were identical.
Yeah.
And I was
Well,
like, how is
it's
this? And like
been-
the zones that are danger zones and like all that stuff. The announcements of who died every night. It was just like it was identical. It was kind of
Yeah. It's been a couple of years since I've seen Battle Royale, but I remember even at the time noting that like it's not like the general idea I can understand someone else separately coming up with. Even stuff like having the
Yeah.
one couple and stuff.
Yeah,
That's just like those are like
absolutely.
common tropes.
Absolutely.
Like, understand. It's the fact that like very specific parts of the game
Yeah,
are exactly
yeah. Are identical. Yeah, it's
yeah.
insane. That whole that yeah.
Battle
That film
Royale
was
is also
insane.
a much better film than The Hunger Games. Just
Yes, I would say so.
And
Well,
actually,
I enjoy the Hunger Games in a
I enjoy it fine, but
yeah.
I would
in a
say
sort of,
Battle
like,
Royale
Harry
both
Potter kind of
has
way.
both has more to say and
Yes.
has a vastly more entertaining like actual death game compared to The Hunger
Yeah.
Games.
Yeah,
Most
the
of the
devs
game
are
around.
awesome. Yeah, that film it's an awesome film. And the second one is genuinely awful, but it's
I'm curious now. I'm gonna have to
it's
go
entertaining
watch
enough.
it.
I would recommend you watch it. It's awful, but it's yeah, it's interesting.
We can discuss
Okay.
it in 2040 something.
Is that right? Yeah, 2040, something like that. No, later, 2050, man.
Oh,
24
that recent
2049.
shit.
Yeah, I think it came out in 2000, maybe.
Alright.
Something like that. Anyway, back to
this,
The hero
yes.
too late, some
Too late, the hero.
a bridge too far, a hero too late, something. Yep. Too
Late
the
hero. Late hero? Question mark.
That's right.
Like yeah. So they say we're not doing what that guy says, and they travel for a day, and then they wake up the next day. The Japanese guy's like, "Hey, we're closing in, trying to really think
Yep.
about that deal."
Yeah.
And then they travel some more, and then they sort of settle down by a ruin, whilst the guy who got shot earlier sort of lies down to die, and they get their rest.
Well, he's not going to die actually.
No, but they're discussing abandoning him.
They're resting. So they fall asleep big time in this film twice. Like they just like
All fall asleep. No one.
all immediately fall asleep, and but I feel like that's probably actually kind of realistic.
That's true. I mean,
Because there was part of me that was like, how could you fall asleep that easily in that situation? But then there was another part of me that's like, they've been walking for like 4 days. Of course they're gonna just fall asleep like that.
one
But it
of
was
the
pretty funny.
things that does sort of weirdly stick out to me is that feels increasingly unclear how large the jungle actually is.
Yeah.
Which they are, because it sort of seems like quite a long journey on the way there, and then they make it back in like 3 days, I think. And then like whenever they talk about surrendering, they make it clear that like if you just like put your hand up, we'll see you. Like
No, they have to shoot. They have to shoot.
He gives them like a 30-second countdown to surrender at one point, and like that implies that it's a small.
No, they have to shoot.
Right?
They have to shoot the gun though.
Is that it? Okay, that makes more sense.
Did you miss that as well?
I didn't know that was what they were supposed to do. They just said to surrender.
No, we didn't. He said several times, like literally about 10 times in the film, he was like, "You have to shoot your gun once in the air to show that you're surrendering."
That's what they said. Okay.
Could you not understand his accent or something?
No, I don't remember him saying that at all. I just remember him saying yes.
Mate, literally, he said it like several times. I'm not just saying that he like said it once.
Cool.
It was like very clear that was how to surrender.
All right, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. You don't have to apologize. Well,
Cool.
you should apologize probably.
I did.
I'm not sure you've watched this film, Jamie.
Yeah, I thought I did, and
I think you watched the Cinema Sins episode of it, and you're taking all your ideas from that.
Yeah. What was I saying? Yeah. Anyway, regardless of that particular thing, it does the size of the jungle. It seems very mutable.
Yeah, it's kind of fluid, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's you vaguely get an idea that it's several days wide, but it's not necessarily specific, which is
Anyway, so at this point they're all asleep, and that who is it possibly time for, but the cowardly jock
Cowardly, disgusting, filthy fucking jock.
to show his true hand. So he gets
It's
up
true.
and he's like, "Hey, guy I was shot. We're gonna surrender now, okay? It's cool. I got your back, bud." And he's like, "Nah, I'm not doing that."
Yeah.
So Doc murders him.
Yeah, just straight up.
Just it comes as easy to them as breathing.
Because he's a filthy fucking jock.
Exactly. That's just how they do it up there.
It's true.
Across there, yeah. Disgraceful. And then he says to like two cowardly guys, "Okay, we're surrendering now."
Well, no, but he tricks them because he says to them that the officers killed the other guy, right?
Yes.
It's just,
I'm very uncertain about I'm very uncertain about myself these days, Duncan. I really think.
So he implies that the officer, because the officer was talking about should we leave him behind. Michael Caine's like, no, we're not going to leave him behind. We're going to carry him. And then the jock kind of picks up on that tension, and then he implies that Officer Marcus Brody has killed
Not
the
Marcus
jock.
the American.
Not Marcus Brody. The American has killed the jock.
Yeah. Are you sure you liked this film, Duncan?
Sorry.
That's my revenge. I'll drop it.
He implies that the American has killed the jock, and that so he's like, we've got to surrender. Or does he imply that a Japanese person killed the jock?
No, he doesn't.
Killed the other guy's Scottish as well, right? The soldier. Guy.
No, because he calls him Scottish, like in a very derogatory way.
No, he calls him Glaswegian in a derogatory way, doesn't he?
I didn't pick up Edinburgh from him, so that's what I'm assuming.
No, well, that's true.
I thought my guess
to be
was
from elsewhere on the Isles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
maybe he wasn't. But
assumed from context he might be an Irish or something, but
maybe one of them as Welsh, weren't they?
Yeah, there's a good spread of.
But I think the unit. I mean, the unit was made up of people that had been in Singapore and another unit. But I think the main unit was Scottish because the commander was Scottish, right? And the hats they were wearing were Scottish.
Mm.
So he might have been Scottish, and that might be why he specified Glaswegian.
Maybe
he might be from
nobody else other than those two. Nobody else in the unit is Scottish.
Well, the commander's Scottish.
Definitely isn't Scottish.
The commander's Scottish.
Oh, well,
the big commander.
He's just being like he's just being a stereotypical commander. He's got a really nice silver cane, you know.
But he's Scottish. But he's Scottish is my point. So that would and they're wearing the hats that are that are, I believe, Scottish army style. So I think the unit generally is Scottish. But obviously Scottish units are not made up of only Scottish people. And as they say at the start, a lot of them are from Singapore. The units that were in Singapore, they are from separate units.
At least in this unit, there's only one clearly Scottish person, and this.
I think the soldier was. I think the soldier guy that gets his throat slit was also Scottish, but that's just me.
I mean,
regardless, one of them's definitely Welsh as well.
Yeah. Anyway, regardless, they all pack up and they go to the Japanese bloke. The disgusting Glaswegian jock gets hung by them and killed.
That's fair, man. I can get behind that. I'm just going to alienate. I'm going to alienate I'm going to alienate all our Glaswegian listeners.
When we did it before, it felt self-deprecating. Now it just feels.
You Glasgow.
Kinda.
Is that doxing you by saying that?
Yes, you've doxed me, Duncan. Our loads of fans are going to.
By saying that you Glasgow, is that doxing?
Mm-hmm.
You Glasgow.
If you want
to see Jamie, go to a subway in Glasgow and you'll find him.
Yes, I'll be hitting my door on the way out. Hitting my head on the way out. Sorry.
What? Oh no, I meant Subway as in the sandwich shop, not as.
Oh yeah.
How
do you know I like Subway?
Because you do, don't you?
I do. I was surprised you knew that.
Oh. And I know you.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I wasn't talking about the subways in the underground.
Yeah.
Because it's not really a real one.
Compared to average.
Compared to what, James?
Any place where you might live.
I'm not in Aberdeen at the moment, man.
Oh wow, you doxed yourself. Where could we be? What other possible town in Edinburgh? Scotland.
The town in Edinburgh could we be in? That's right, we're in Peebles. Doxed. No, we're in Penicuik. We're in Penicuik taking notes of how people are using High Street. All right.
Yeah, we're gonna knock
Calling-
on all of you, reporting
calling-
you to the.
Calling random women bitches and stuff. Oh, that's a reference. That's a reference that all our listeners are gonna get.
Exactly. Well,
We could-
I
we
think
could-
they probably will all get them because I think they're just all people we know.
But do they know that story? Should we tell that story? Should we
all
tell that
four of
story
them?
on? Should we tell that story on the podcast?
You know what? Fuck it. Who's gonna listen?
So Jamie and I, well,
Mhm.
it was actually my geography project in my final year was to compare the high streets of Peebles and Penicuik, which, if you don't know, are a couple of towns in the Scottish borders, where we live. Maybe
Can't believe we've been doxxed again.
we don't live there. Anyway, so my parents my parents took me to Peebles because it's a lovely town, and they like went shopping while I was out in the street doing a questionnaire about the high street. But they wouldn't take me to Penicuik because it's a shithole. So I asked my good friend
It's not
Jimbo
a shithole.
Jimmy.
It's very nice. See, I
Yeah.
got them on our side.
I asked my. Oh, that's true. We might get sponsored by the Penicuik Tourist Board. if we talk nice out of them. So I asked my good friend Jamie Jimboson to come with me to do my questionnaire in Penicuik about the high street.
Yeah.
And when we were there, it was like an awful day, wasn't it? It was like really rainy. We had to get the bus there because
Yeah.
my parents were like, "We're not driving to Penicuik. We've got no business there. We'll drive you to Peebles anytime, but
Got no
Penicuik's
business in
out of
Penicuik.
the question." So it was like a horrible rainy day. We'd got the bus there, and we didn't know where we were. Like we don't know Penicuik at all. And then we were on the high street doing this questionnaire, and then this woman came out of like her apartment, or was it out of a coffee shop? I can't remember.
She came out of a coffee shop.
But I think she lived there. I think she had an apartment there as well because we saw her later in the day. But she came out, and we were like, "Would you like to do her questionnaire?" And of course, we were like kind of really like awkward schoolboys. We were like, "Would you like to do our questionnaire?"
Just to give some context, the guy came out of a store at one point and told us to do our jobs properly because we were being too awkward.
Yeah, because we were being too awkward. He was like, and I tried to pretend it was because of the sampling method that we were using. That like we could only ask every fifth person or something, but in reality we were only approaching nice people. So like my statistics were entirely based on like the old people of Peebles and Penicuik. But we got brave for this woman because she was in like a suit and she was like had a coffee and she was obviously going somewhere. So we asked her to do our questionnaire and she was like no, I'm too busy, and then she just left. And then I said to Jamie under my breath, what was it, fucking bitch, that I said?
Yeah, it was.
As a joke.
Yeah.
Pretty hard, very very harsh. Not very nice thing to say by any means, but it was a joke between us, that we found quite funny. But then later in the day, she came back like an hour later, and she. Oh, have you just
Duncan?
dropped off the call, Jamie?
Duncan?
Okay, well I'll keep telling the story. You dropped off, but yeah. So she came back like an hour later, and she was like she came back. Oh, I'm getting distracted because Jamie's dropping off the call. Or is it my Wi-Fi that's gone haywire? Oh, well, anyway, the recording's still on. So, yeah, she came back like an hour later, and she was like, I felt really bad for not talking to you guys earlier. I'll talk to you now. Are you back, Jamie? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're back. Wow. Cool.
Okay, cool. I kept going with the story.
Yeah, same. I kept my recording going. You'll sign some lovely audio files with me asking where you are.
So, okay, well... I might just cut that out. So if I have cut that out, we're back now. We had audio issues. If I haven't cut it out, which I probably won't, I hope you enjoyed that brief portion of Jamie asking where I was while I try and keep telling the story. So anyway, yeah, I called her a fucking bitch under my breath, which was a terrible thing to do, and I apologise profusely to everyone everywhere. But it was funny as well. And then she came back like an hour later, and she was like ridiculously apologetic for not talking to us. And she was like, "I'm so sorry. I was busy, but I've got time now. I can answer your questionnaire." And it was, I to this day, I still really think that she
Duncan
probably heard
believes she heard him. Yes.
She heard me calling her a fucking bitch, which is
I
just
like
horrible.
to believe in the goodness of human nature and that Duncan was proven wrong in a very timely and godly way.
I hope so, but I also think that woman probably like heard me and just. I'm surprised she came back and didn't like try and fight us or something. Like, you know, be like,
Well, that's what
what'd you
I'd
call
do
me?
if I heard you.
Because we were in Penicuik, so like she could have been like, "Oh, what'd you fucking call me?" Because she's Cockney, obviously.
You have managed to
'Cause
both insult her and her town.
She's a fucking disgusting jock. Maybe she'd chop my head off, and like, I don't know.
Not painting yourself in a great light here, mate. But
Well, no, I'm playing back into the film with the fucking
exactly.
jock thing.
Anyway,
She was a nice enough woman,
she was very
and
nice.
she answered the questions. I hope she didn't hear me. I felt really bad. It was a joke, and I felt really bad.
Great. It was quite funny.
It was hilarious.
But
Man, so that was a bit of
speaking
our
of
personal
current
lives.
jocks, I think Duncan has disappeared again.
What?
Yes.
I'm here. Can you not hear me? Jamie? I can hear you, so this is good. I'm just gonna hang up and then call him again. Man, these bits are gonna be so good because they're gonna be like both of us talking over each other. Jamie?
Yeah, you're back. Cool.
I could still hear you, man.
Okay, I couldn't hear you.
Yeah.
That's worrying.
Well,
Alright.
I could hear you.
Cool.
Right.
Uh,
Oh. What?
go back to
what
the
are we,
film.
Where are we? What are we doing?
We're going back to the film.
Right. It's a good plan.
Anyway, so the Japanese guy has these two guys who came with the jock who haven't been killed, but they think they're going to be. And he's like, you gotta beg your commander to, surrender himself so that you guys can live.
Yeah.
And Michael Caine and the lieutenant both obviously say,
who?
fuck them.
Who was that?
The lieutenant,
No, but who was the other person you said?
Michael Caine.
Michael Caine.
Michael Caine. Yeah.
There you go. You gotta say it properly, man.
But every time I do it, it puts pressure on me, man. I gotta have a good impression.
Oh,
I don't have
fair.
one.
Oh, it sucks. Sucks you suck, man.
Anyway,
He sucks you suck, as Michael Caine would say.
Michael Caine would say it sucks. This year I can't do it. Anyway,
It sucks you suck.
fuck them.
Right.
And they're like, we're not doing that. So the lieutenant's like, oh, okay, so we've got to go back to camp. And then Michael Caine's like, nah, man. Just go in the completely opposite direction.
Yes.
Let's go in the opposite direction and hang out for a few days, and then at that point it'll be a moot point because the raid will have already happened, so the Japanese won't be looking for us anymore, and we can just saunter on back. And
because he still does not appreciate the importance of the mission.
Exactly.
Despite everything he's been through. And the American has now realised...
This is the American's point to have a character arc, where he decides that there's things more important than his own life.
Exactly. Which is quite, an interesting thing to have to think about.
Well, see, one of the reasons I feel that this film is not super great is that I feel this is very... I mean, this is a pro-war movie. I think we can both agree, or at least a film.
I wouldn't say it was pro. It's certainly not an anti-war movie.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say it was pro-war particularly.
Well, I think it's definitely very much about themes of serving your country.
Yes, it definitely has themes of that. It's kind of like war is hard, but necessary is maybe the wrong word. But like the sacrifice is brutal but necessary, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely it's not necessarily glorifying war itself.
No, it doesn't glorify because it's got some really brutal bits, and you can see that the characters are like under strain. It's not like one of these films where like they're just out shooting people and they're like, oh, this is awesome. Like it's definitely a bit deeper than that. But I think it certainly is not anti-war.
It's not war itself is necessary, but it's saying that your personal sacrifice is necessary for war,
exactly.
Which is a very related message.
Exactly.
I would certainly... The fact that the film came out at the same time as Vietnam when they were trying to... When there was a need to drum up sentiment does not surprise me in the least, is what I would say.
No.
So this isn't personally a message I'd necessarily agree with in that I don't look at Michael Caine's scene, and I think you're supposed to think that he's being a bit of a coward and horrible, and I don't personally feel that. I feel he would not be justified in the actions he suggests.
Yeah, I feel like it's but the point is that other lives are at risk,
Well, yeah,
because
exactly. That is the thing.
there's the U.S. Navy is going through that area, and they're all going to get bombed by these ships.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a tough one. I
So
think there are quite a lot of these kind of hard decisions that kind of
yeah,
illustrate this point of like having to serve your country in this film.
yeah. I mean, that is the theme, double
Yeah,
unbind.
yeah,
So this is where they have their little disagreement, and Lieutenant's like, "No, I've learned my lesson, and
yeah,
our moral of the day is, it's a sweet and honorable thing to die for one's country."
exactly.
Eh.
What's that in
Uh,
Latin?
you may have
Is that
noticed
the?
it in English. Did you wonder why I maybe said it in English? I'll
Because
give
you
you.
don't know it.
I
Because you don't
don't
know it
know
in
the
Latin.
Latin. Um,
What is it? Is it honourable to die for your country?
Dulce
Dulce decorum est pro patria mori. Of course.
Petramore, yeah.
I hear that there's a school in Edinburgh that has that as one of its big
Does it?
things.
Holy shit, I didn't know that.
But it has a gym hall that says pro patria mori above it.
I never noticed that in all the time we were there, and also
Awesome.
that's interesting.
All the time we were where, Jamie?
Periods.
George Watson's. Trismobile. Petties.
They're gonna get it by elimination now.
Oh shit. Merkston. St. George's. Mary Erskine's. Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah,
Cool.
they decide to go to the camp. The lieutenant
Yeah.
punches Michael Caine in the stomach
Michael Caine.
for his cowardice.
When does he punch? Oh, he punches him when he's a coward. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. That was like I watched the film actually pretty intently, but I kind of wasn't fully focused on it at that exact point. And then he punched him, and I was like, "What the fuck just happened?" But yeah, he punched him, right?
Yeah, and then they move off to the camp, and then I think it's at this point that their deadline comes up.
Yeah.
The major is like, "Okay, I'm gonna shoot them now."
Yeah.
And he does a big wink to the camera, and then he shoots the
Yeah.
ground right past their ears instead of
Shoots
actually.
right past your ears.
Uh,
Yeah, which is because I for sure thought that they were just gonna kill them.
Well, so he does this whole thing where it's like, "You didn't think I was actually going to shoot you, did I? What do you think I am?"
But it's so bizarre. It's so bizarre.
Well, like, here's the thing. Like we were saying, the presentation of the Japanese in this movie is very positive. Which
Yeah, it's
is nice,
insane.
but in this other way, makes it kind of hard to root against them.
Yeah, I mean, because it's like, I mean, I would say that the Japanese army in World War II, much like the Nazis, is one of the groups that films can really make evil.
There are only
without-
so many groups
without
in the
feeling-
world that you can make just clean cut bad, you know?
Yeah, and I would say they're one of them. You know, obviously, there's the whole Japanese thing where they were like, the whole fucking country was brainwashed. You know, so it's it's the same thing as like Nazi Germany. You know, it's not.
Yeah.
You know, you can't just say that all of them believed it fully or whatever, but certainly the atrocities committed were pretty major. So you'd think that they would be able to portray that in some way.
Yeah, and like, you'd think, like, I assume the motivation for this is to, like,
Of course,
create some moral ambiguity in the film. But I don't think it really lands that either. It's not
but-
that there's no moral ambiguity, it just doesn't focus on it at all.
obviously at this point the Japanese were allies quite strongly.
Yeah, exactly.
Economically speaking. So I
mean, even
I wonder if it's like almost whitewashing of what happened.
well, even if like we just remove it from its context, and I realize it's a pretty major step to take, and we're just like,
Yeah.
there is one side and there is the other side, and it's made up of these specific characters, and they don't exist in any
Yeah.
wider context whatsoever. I don't
Yeah.
think it even works on that level, because there's no. It doesn't feel. The fact that the Japanese guy's kind of nice doesn't really seem to make the situation more interesting to me.
No.
Like, they're
No.
still fighting for their lives, and like, even if he was
Yeah.
at the annual puppy parade or whatever, like, you'd still.
Yeah. Because it's like because what they believe the Japanese would do to them is most likely what would happen in real life if the Japanese
Yeah, like,
got them.
it's not
But
like
the film's almost saying that was stupid. Like that it's stupid that this is the view of the Japanese in World War II when it's not. It isn't.
Yeah, like, it's just
So
the
weird.
weird thing, and, like, what the effect of it is just that you end up not caring, at least for me, is that you don't care about as much as the struggle. Well, I think if he was just more of a mustache twirling villain, like even if
Yeah,
that's more simplistic, I think that would actually make for a more effective film.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Maybe an American audience would feel differently because of the risk to their navy. I don't know. Like they'd sort of be saying like, oh, these Japanese are gonna blow up our ships. That's like, but no, that doesn't really work because you. Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know where I
yeah,
was going with that. That doesn't
like
really make any sense. It was just weird.
yeah.
It was weird, man.
Well, I feel like even if it was just like, but they know he's a good person, then there'd be like some kind of thematic struggle or whatever. But he's just a good
Right.
person, and it doesn't affect anything because they don't find
They
out about
don't know. Yeah.
it. Yeah.
It must be. Uh, it must be like whitewashing, because Vietnam's the enemy now.
Well, part of me, well, no, because that doesn't even make sense. Because, like,
Why?
as we've been saying, like, a lot of this film, at least to me, would be like to sort of tacitly support Vietnam, at least. And even then, if you're saying, like,
Yeah,
they are not the same, as it were, then. Well, there is
well,
much.
but I think the Vietnam thing is more um the situation of like the Americans in the jungle fighting.
Yeah.
And
Well, I suppose I should.
I think they probably want to portray the Japanese in not a bad light, because maybe they don't want like anti-Japanese sentiment growing, because that's actually
Yeah.
not who they're at war with.
Well, I suppose, like, also the internment camps at this point would not have been that distant a memory, would they? So
No.
maybe that's part of it.
Yeah,
At least,
yeah, it was weird.
I suppose, like, if you imagine, like, you were watching Indiana Jones and something, and then, like, the Nazi officer turned out to be a really nice guy and is off out,
Yeah.
like, it's that sort of effect. Where,
It is
but
because
also,
and that's because we were at war with like France, and Germany's one of our biggest economic allies, and like that's kind of what it feels like.
well, yeah, that's what you're saying. Like,
Because they're at war with a similar. I don't know. It was
well,
weird. It
I
was
mean,
weird.
at this point I'm pretty sure Japan was in a recession in the 70s. I might be wrong because definitely the 80s is when they became a major economic power.
Yeah, but it was pretty quickly after World War Two. They flipped pretty majorly to like a capitalist
Oh yeah, of course.
economy backed by the US very strongly.
Yeah.
Because the government didn't change in Japan. I found this out like yesterday, I think,
Oh
that
yeah.
like obviously in Nazi Germany, like they completely removed the Nazis and like redid
Mhm.
the whole country. But apparently in Japan, they just kept the same government and like got rid of some elements. So like there was like three prime ministers
Yeah.
after the end of the war that were like strongly involved with stuff that the Japanese did in World War Two,
Well,
which is
like
interesting.
speaking as someone who consumes far too much Japanese entertainment, uh, there is this sense that there's not a lot of penance for what happened in World War Two, partially because
Right.
like it's apples to oranges, obviously, but being the victim of two atomic bomb strikes, sort of like
Yeah.
they committed
Sort of.
the worst crimes in the entire war, but one of the worst was also committed against them, and I think
Yes, that's true.
that sort of eliminates any cultural guilt, as it were.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
it does. It does feel like that. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah,
but anyway, in the
interesting.
context of this film, it is still weird that he's likable because it just
Yeah,
sort of makes for a worse film, frankly. Uh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Cool. How much more have you? Well,
I haven't
keep
got much
going.
more to say. Let's just finish off. They go.
Don't wait. Don't say it like that, man.
No. I'm just trying to remember.
Let's just finish off. Let's just no. I don't got more to say. Let's just get it done, out of the way.
The American lieutenant
Whack it
goes off
up.
and kills the major. He assassinates
Yep.
him, and this means that the Japanese are all thrown into disarray, and they can try and make a final run towards the base camp.
Yep.
They do a zigzagging thing,
Which
which
is dramatic and funny. The zigzagging was fucking funny.
it is good, and it's also like a callback to one of the first scenes. That little
Yeah,
thing to do.
which is really dramatic. We didn't talk about that scene, but that first scene's super dramatic when they're all running.
Oh
And,
yeah,
like,
when they're all running across.
and everyone's cheering them. Yeah, and
Anyway,
that was a good way to establish the situation, I thought.
so Chekhov's
Right at the
gun
start.
goes bang. This is the point. They zigzag across the
Yeah.
field, and they're being shot at.
Yeah.
And at this point, the camera's pulled back, so you can't really tell who's who.
Yeah, which
Uh,
I liked.
and
I liked
yeah,
that a
so
lot.
it's a nice bit
That
of
was a cool
suspense.
effect. Yeah.
And then the guns are going, they're going bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
And then one of them falls over. Oh no! One of them keeps
Oh no.
running. He also gets shot. He falls over. There's a bit of tension,
Yeah.
and the British camp's providing covering fire, and he gets up again, and he's sort
Yeah.
of falling towards the end. And the Japanese clear off, and they all surround him, and he rises, and there's a very almost painful protraction of scenes not showing who it is who made it to the end,
Yeah.
as the
Yeah.
colonel's like, "Oh god damn man, where have you come from? Who was with you? What information do you have?" Like
Yeah.
questions, and then he rises, and then he looks at the camera.
Michael Caine.
I'm Michael Caine.
Oh, that man's a goddamn hero. He's a hero, I'm telling you.
Yes,
Like that.
Michael Caine. This is the point where Michael Caine discovers he too can sacrifice himself for his
Yeah.
country.
Let me tell you that Yank back there is a fucking hero. He's a hero, and you all don't know it, but he's a real hero.
Mm-hmm. He says he
what he
killed
says.
30 Japs. That's
Oh, Jimmy, you said it as well now.
yeah. We're both under.
I can't believe it. I mean, I don't know to what extent that word is.
No. Well,
Is the other one worse? The N one?
yes, clearly.
No, as in the Japanese N one, not the not the N word.
I don't know what you're talking about genuinely.
The nipples, but without the plus at the end.
Yes.
Is that worse?
Probably worse. I don't know.
I don't know. Anyway,
Regardless.
that's kind of that. Let's move on from that topic quickly.
Uh-huh.
Did we say the? No, we didn't say the N word last time, did we?
No. We
No, it's in the
very
less
tastefully.
bad one. We described it as the less bad one, which was bad, and now
Hmm.
we're saying the J word and the other N word.
A lot
We're
of discussion of racial slurs on this podcast. That's where we're at.
Maybe the KKK will sponsor us. No, that was a bad joke. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. Right. What were you saying? Let's move on.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
What was I saying? Oh yeah. So that's the end. Michael Caine learned his lesson.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yay.
Only
Yeah, it
one
was-
page of credits because it's the 70s, so they did all the credits at the beginning, as
Yeah.
you should.
There were quite a lot of Japanese people, as I said
Yeah.
earlier. So, is that you? Are you done your bits?
That's the synopsis.
Cool.
So, yeah.
That took almost as long as the film to
True.
do.
It actually did. No, because you did your background bit first.
Yeah, no, I know it didn't actually. Okay, so right. What else do I have to say? Let's see. What I've got my thing. So apparently
Mhm.
they were asked to film two endings. They filmed two endings. One where the American guy made it.
Yes, well, I heard that this was based on a book, and in the original.
Yes, an unpublished
actor,
novel.
they're not-
Don't Die Mad.
That's a better title.
Yeah, then Too Late the Hero.
But anyway, in the original version, Michael Caine's
Right.
character dies, but he wasn't going to have that because he's Michael Caine. and
Michael Caine.
Gets
But-
what he wants.
Apparently they filmed another ending, and I'm wondering if do you know if that ending was released in the US? Like, did we watch the British version and is an American version with the American surviving? Or was it because the only information I found was that they filmed the two endings. I didn't find.
Yeah. Well, we watched it very, very legally on YouTube.
We watched it on YouTube.
We'd probably be watching
Is it available anywhere else?
on DVD, but
It's available on DVD and on
Who uses
YouTube.
those?
True.
So, I assume we would have watched the American version if there were two versions. I think there's only one.
Yeah, I
I
think there's
can't
only one version,
imagine-
but they filmed two endings either way,
Yeah.
which is interesting. Another film with Hero in the title. There's two
Yeah.
endings. You know Local Hero? Have you seen Local Hero?
I have not.
Oh, it's a great film. It's one of the best films. Man, I said that kind of like Trump, didn't I? It's one of the best films.
Exactly. You're going to be extolling Gone with the Wind anytime.
It is. It's a great film. You should watch it, man. Local Hero. It came out in 1983, so we won't be talking about that one for another 13 years. But yeah, it's a really good film. And he was asked to film like another ending for American audiences that was like happy, and he met them halfway and like filmed one that's kind of ambiguous.
Well, I was
But
watching. I watched Seven Samurai and The
right,
Magnificent Seven recently as a remake compare thing, and that has a much happier ending. The American
does it?
version.
I've
That's,
not seen the Magnificent Seven, but
that's
that
just
is interesting. I think
that's
that's
just
quite
what
a
they
common
like.
thing. It's quite a common thing
Yeah.
because it's kind of it's like a. I don't think it's necessarily something that everyone needs, but I think it's like some people really like it, and it's just like become a thing.
I'm sure at that point in time, when like even more when like you're really catering to a mass audience with everything you
Yeah,
do,
exactly. It's a mass audience,
rules
and
are a lot stricter.
they have test screenings and stuff, don't they? And like they come out and they're
Yeah.
like, I didn't like how the American died at the end. Why did that British guy Michael Caine, is that what he's called? Michael Caine? That's such a weird name. Why did he survive, and not the American guy? Do you think that's what the test screenings were like?
I can't imagine anything different.
I just why did my Yank not survive? Why was it Michael Caine? That's so weird. Michael Caine, he's gross. He's British and gross.
Duncan, I hate to tell you this, but based on Michael Caine's stardom at the time, I think there were clearly a fair contingent of people who wanted to fuck him.
No, he's British and gross. He's got these big ugly teeth. And do you know who was really gross? That jock, that Scottish guy. He was so gross. He cut off the guy's hands, and like he was all like hung up in that bit. That was gross, man.
Uh, anyway, so a fun fact about this film, right? Very fun. You ready
Yeah,
for
I'm
it?
ready.
This is one of the worst losses in ABC Films history. It lost $6,765,000.
Jeez.
This is like
ABC films didn't last long. I
did it
looked them
not?
up.
Hmm.
They were like from 1969 to 1972 or something like that. They
Well, this
releasing
clearly
films.
contributed. Uh,
Yeah, I think they as a whole they made a massive loss.
yeah. So
Yeah.
what? Let's hear your opinion. Why do you think this film didn't make any money? I mean, obviously,
I
we don't know what the
thought it
marketing
was
was, so we're very limited now.
so yeah, we're pretty limited in marketing. I thought it was a pretty good film, but it wasn't great.
Hmm.
Have you got the reviews there?
Yeah, I've got them. Do you want me to
Maybe
read
should we
them out for you?
let's talk about that first. That might give us an
Okay.
idea because I've not
Uh,
seen any of the reviews.
so, Roger Greenspun of the New York Times wrote that, although
Right.
committed to the notion that war is an inclusive system of betrayals, the film subverts that notion and settles instead for some fashionable ironies and remarkably conventional jungle war displays.
Right.
So, from what I can tell, he's just saying it's too much sarcasm. It's not very interesting. Arthur
Because
Murphy,
it's a disgusting British film, and it's got all this sarcasm and jokes in it that I don't like.
Arthur D. Murphy of Variety, which still exists today,
Wait,
uh,
sorry, of what?
of Variety,
Oh yes,
called
that
it,
does
and,
still exist today. You're right.
yeah, so does the New York Times. I'm just going to do that for
Yeah,
everyone.
New York
And
Times. I was about to say it was the first guy. Yeah, right.
An okay World War II melodrama, the net
Yep,
result is not very much at all, except for a pervading load of bland competence under the
right,
overall supervision of Archer Aldrich.
right.
Because I think we have somehow haven't mentioned this. No, we did. It's a Robert Aldrich film. He of Dirty
Robert Rodriguez.
fame. I didn't
Sorry,
really.
say that again.
He of Dirty Dozen fame.
Yes.
Uh,
And I think that's the big driving force behind this film was that he made the Dirty Dozen and
yeah, someone was like, "Do that again."
Yeah, exactly. That was the impression I got from what I read was that ABC basically wanted another Dirty Dozen. They had this script lying about based on this novel, unpublished novel. And the novelist that wrote the novel has apparently worked with Aldrich before on other films. So it was kind of that they were familiar with each other, and the film was similar. Have you seen a Dirty Dozen?
No, sorry.
No, neither. But I want to see it. It looks quite good. But it's similar. Like it's a small team that has to do something in World War Two. So it's quite clear that the driving force behind this film is that that film exists, and they wanted another one.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Gene Siskel, who
Right.
obviously gave the film
Was
1 star out of 4.
Oh my
Uh,
God. Out of
he
4. Okay, that's not too
One
bad.
out of 4. 1 out of 4. And he
What?
said 1 out of 4, a
Yeah,
quarter.
1 out of 4, but not 1 out of
Yeah.
5.
No,
Because right.
25%. Uh,
Was it Cisco that we talked about last week?
yeah,
Or was it
Siskel
Ebert?
was also
So
down on getting straight.
what have you got? What have you got against Ebert?
Ebert isn't listed on Wikipedia. So fuck you.
Ebert's not listed on Wikipedia.
Not amongst the critical response. Ebert
Oh,
started
right, okay.
Siskel. Anyway, Siskel's older than
What?
him. Isn't Siskel
Ebert?
older than Ebert?
I don't know. I honestly
Ebert
don't know much. The
as active as a critic at this
my
time.
knowledge of Siskel and Ebert comes from the Bloodhound Gang song,
Okay.
The Bad Touch, and we
Great.
watched one clip. We watched one clip of Siskel and Ebert in class. Other than that, I don't really know.
Okay.
Other than
Well,
their film critics.
anyway, Gene Siskel's
Right.
critique is that the essence of an action film is action, and that's precisely what's missing in Robert Aldrich's Too Late the Hero.
All
Oddly,
right.
Aldrich, who directed The Dirty Dozen, substitutes boredom in the form of an annoyingly long prologue, repetitive scenes, and combat in a closed space.
Wow.
So why don't you talk about that while I see where Ebert started? But
Yeah, I didn't think it was that bad. I can see. I mean, I've not seen The Dirty Dozen, so I don't know how it compares. I imagine, given that that film seems to be so popular and good, I can imagine that this one is worse than it and would be a disappointment to audiences that were familiar with that. But overall, I wouldn't say I wouldn't say the film was bad. I kind of agree with the combat thing. Um,
well, the thing is,
when you're watching a war film or an action film, it kind of needs good combat, and I think we're very much spoiled in today's world with like the amount of
that's the
stuff
thing.
that can happen.
The combat in this film is very grounded, and as he says,
Yeah,
it is usually in closed spaces. But I kind of
that's the point.
I suppose for as speaking of someone today, but I
Yeah,
suppose, and like obviously I'm thinking like I'm thinking of this as a film from 50 years ago. I'm not necessarily looking at the same standards as I would today. But I suppose if you had nothing but that, then you'd be a lot
Yeah.
more discerning about what makes good grounded action and what doesn't. And to be
Yeah.
fair, I was never looking and go, oh wow, what thrilling action this is.
Yeah, the action wasn't thrilling particularly.
Yeah.
But I quite liked it overall. I would say I don't think it deserved to lose however much you said it lost.
Yeah.
It wasn't a bad film by any means.
6 million.
6 million.
No, Ebert started reviewing in 1967, so he probably wouldn't have been as popular at this point.
Right. When did they start their show together?
1975.
1975. So we're not going to be talking about the Siskel and Ebert show for a long time.
For a long time. No.
Long time. Okay.
Mhm.
Right. What else? Is there any more reviews?
Yeah, one. Kevin Thomas of the Los Angeles Times called it a war movie at its most routine. Indeed, it's depressing
Yes,
that how
very
much effort and expense was expended with so little to show for it.
Yeah, it's.
If you want one more opinion from Aldrich himself,
Yeah.
he said he never understood why this film was never successful. He thought it was one of his marvelous movies. And he thought that, and ever since this point, all of his properties were scrutinized at another level because
All right.
he had a loss, and your opinion's only as good as your last picture. Which
Yeah.
reminds me a bit of that thing Kevin Smith said, where obviously Kevin Smith hasn't made a good film for a long while, but he says he's allowed to make whatever he wants because he's never lost any more money. So I think that's an important thing to bear in mind, that directors get to make what they want so long as they can prove they are
It's true.
actually worth investing in.
If they can make money, they can make money. Then they make money. Yeah, exactly. Apparently, Aldridge said that he wanted anyone but Cliff Robertson to play the lead role. But he was overruled by ABC.
I'll be honest, it
And
didn't blow me away.
No, not at all. Aldridge, I read an interview or skimmed an interview, and he seemed to say that basically like the Cliff Robertson didn't play the character how he wanted at all. I didn't really pick up the specifics of what he did wrong, but I think that kind of comes across like he's not great in it. I wouldn't say. I would say that other actors are better.
I think it would actually be better if one of them maybe like, because he's a very like stereotypical hard-nosed protagonist, you know. I think maybe if it was someone a bit weedier, it would maybe be more effective. When he
A bit what?
A bit weedier, a bit more.
Yes, maybe, yeah.
Like even if it was just like one of the people in the background in this film, one of them forgot, then like maybe it would be more effective when he rises.
Like in oh fucking hell, what's that film? This is bad. The Kubrick Vietnam film.
Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah, like Full Metal Jacket. The main guy in that is kind of weedy, isn't he? He's got the glasses, and he works in an office in Vietnam, if I remember correctly. No, he's a Marine. No, he is a Marine, but he's kind of weedy. I I think he works in an office in Vietnam in some way, and then he kind of gets pushed into war. But he also joins the Marines. I need to watch that film again. Clearly,
Hmm.
when did that come out?
Full Metal Jacket. I'll look it up for you.
Please do.
Probably. It definitely didn't come out in 1970.
No, definitely not. I'm planning the years ahead.
1987. So a
I'm
while
planning
yet.
I'm planning the years ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Aldridge did not like Robertson. They didn't get on, but
Hmm.
apparently Aldridge revealed a plaque in his honor at his studios. So maybe they got
Huh.
on more than the media suggests. Also, Cliff Robertson won an Oscar during this filming period.
But not for this film, I assume.
No, definitely not for this film. But he wasn't allowed to go and pick it up. What was the film that he wins? In the film Charlie.
Uh-huh.
Do you know that one?
I don't. Sorry.
No, neither. But he won a Academy Award for Best Actor, and that's 1968. Anyway, I read that he won an Academy Award, and Aldridge didn't let him go home. But again, there was a lot of ambiguity about whose fault that actually was. Like, I think a lot of the drama around the making of this film seems to be people keep flipping and turning with what they're saying, so you're not really sure what's accurate or not.
Hmm.
Which I think happens quite a lot with drama on film sets, because
I'm sure, like, particularly.
there's obviously a lot of tension in the moment, and also
Yeah.
there's probably a lot of publicists and stuff involved that are aiming to give across certain personas and tell people what to say and stuff.
Well, like, particularly at this point in time, obviously, you're not giving out persona as much. Like, you're only performing as your actor
Yes, that's true.
when
That's
you're
true.
specifically being interviewed. So it's a lot easier to sort of
That's true.
reinvent your
Yeah,
story.
I don't think Aldridge was like tweeting about
Yeah, well, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say.
about how much of a prick.
He wasn't
Cliff Robertson was.
subtweeted. He wasn't like, so, naming their names, but someone, AL asterisk asterisk CH has been a pretty shit director.
Yeah, exactly.
Replies locked.
Yeah. So what else? The cast. Right. The fucking filthy, horrible Scottish guy.
Yeah.
He was actually English. The guy that played him.
See, it's just
Of
disgraceful.
course he was.
Even have someone from art and culture represent us. No wonder.
Yeah.
This-
And he's a comedic actor, obviously, like based on his
Well, I mean, he was
facial
being
features
up.
and.
That's all we are to them. Just a joke.
It's just a joke, yeah. But obviously he's like, he's got the facial features of a comedic actor, and he seemed to be in a lot of films that are like Carry On style stuff.
Oh my fucking god! That's where I know him from.
Oh, was he in Carry On?
I'm sure he was in a Carry On.
Oh, he might have been. I don't know.
He was in Carry On, not the Khyber. I'm damn certain. I'm going to look it up now. You're going to be amazed. I'm going to look up on my phone so that I don't.
I forgot you were such a. I forgot you were such a fan of Carry On.
Carry On heads is what we're called. Yeah.
But yeah, if you look at his filmography, I would say 90% of them, the posters feature like a girl in a bikini or a swimsuit with like a comedic title, or like or a caricature of him drawn like pulling a funny face. Like he was in Crooks in Cloisters, which has Barbara Windsor in it in a bath, is the poster. Obviously, and she's got like a giant cartoon caricature head. He was in one with Come Play With Me, which has the poster is like a nurse in lingerie.
Oh
and
no,
stockings
I got him confused with someone else.
saying "Come Play With Me." He was in it. He was in a film called Rent-A-Dick from 1972. So maybe we'll watch that one in 2 years' time. That looks like a good one. But yeah, he was in a lot of these like Carry On style films with women. Oh, we can talk about the representation of women in this film. They're all prostitutes. They're all prostitutes in the first 5 minutes, and that's the only woman in it.
Oh yeah, yeah. I understand. Well, I don't say they're all prostitutes. It's just like the weird, the American soldiers come in, and everyone who's being invaded is super hot for them.
Well, that's kind of like the French in World War II, isn't it?
That's what they say.
Is that okay? I won't. Yeah. Oh, and he Ronald Fraser, the filthy jock that's played by a guy from Manchester. Was also he's also in a bunch of war films, and I assume he plays similar characters in this. And he's in a few films that are both war films and comedy films.
Wow.
So it looks like he's a pretty clear character that he plays a lot. But yeah, he's from Ashton Underline. He's from Manchester.
He's in the Rise and Rise of Michael Rimmer, which is a film that Captain Horny is also in.
Captain Horny is also in it. Right. Good.
And also 1970, so we might actually cover it one day.
Cool. Cool stuff. Yeah, so who else was in the cast? I think we've talked about everyone else.
Yeah, of them.
The main ones. Yeah, I don't know if I've got much more to say about this film.
So what did you think of it overall?
Oh yeah, so our rating system.
Yeah.
So lowest in the rating system is what avoid at all costs.
Avoid at all costs.
The second rating is if it's on, give it a watch.
Yeah.
The third rating is if you have it available free on like Netflix or Amazon or in this case YouTube, watch it. Go out your way and watch it. Number four is spend money on the film, and number 5 is like buy the collector's edition box set.
Yeah, but spend everything you have on it. Just give yourself over.
So this one I would put somewhere between if it's on, give it a watch, and if it's free, give it a watch. Depending on how you feel about like war films.
I would personally rate this one as a don't watch it. Just
really.
I don't think there are so many World War II.
Not even watch if it's on.
No, not even that. There are so many World War II films.
Right.
They do all cover similar themes much better. You can even get World War II films with Michael Caine in them if that is your very specific desire.
Yeah. Can you get World War II films with Henry Fonda in them, Jamie? In small guest star cameo roles.
If you are, for whatever reason, a Michael Caine or a Henry Fonda completionist, then why not watch this film? But it will not be a highlight of that journey that you have chosen to inflict yourself.
Maybe I'll downgrade my ranking to if it's on, give it a watch. I don't think I should be going between rankings. So if someone asks you, if someone says to you we're watching Too Late the Hero, or if it's on TV and you're sitting doing fuck all, I would put it, give it a watch. You would put it.
I would just watch any other World War II film.
You would say actively don't watch it. So if someone came to you and said, do you want to watch this film, you'd say no.
No, like The Great Escape's on Netflix, right? You can watch that.
Right.
Why not enjoy yourself?
Fair enough. Something else that I've just noticed that I haven't talked about. The soundtrack was very like classic war film stuff, right?
It does that film which all classic films do, where they have one theme tune and then the entire soundtrack is just like slight variations on that.
Slight variations of that.
Which, just to be clear, I love. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I like it. And it's always very predictable, like when it's gonna come up and how it's gonna come up. It's good. I like that.
I feel like movie soundtracks don't really stand out that much these days. Like,
man, there's that whole video on it that blew up on YouTube. Like, why you don't remember Marvel?
That's the last Every Frame of Painting video.
Is it? Only, of course, everyone does remember Marvel now, right? Because and it became a meme, didn't it? Like do. Well,
the thing is, I'm pretty sure like people at Disney saw that criticism and like in response started very aggressively pushing them.
They did because when I watched that video, I was like, yes, I don't remember it, and then now I feel like I very much do. Like it's up there with other theme songs in my mind that I remember.
It's very much like something where they started getting a lot more aggressive about like saying it's the theme tune time now.
Yeah. For sure, especially in Endgame and Infinity War, which I guess makes sense because those films were, if it's like the Avengers theme and it's for all the heroes, then those were really the films that had those moments in it. But it also did feel like they were kind of aggressively pushing it. Man, talking about Every Frame of Painting, do you remember when I put his views across as my own to you and you called me out on it?
Yes.
That was a good time. That was funny. Well,
Believe it or not, listeners, there was a time when Duncan didn't know anything about films and would pass off other people's knowledge as his own.
Every Frame of Painting's great, though.
That's true.
One day we'll
wrestling power.
One day we'll rival them. Why did they stop? I can't remember. Did they say or did they just stop?
They stopped. They had actual jobs, and they were more interested in them, I think.
Sucks. What are the there's a few good things like that. There's like do you watch full fat videos? Is that what they're
No,
called?
if you want a couple of recommendations from me, I like the Royal Ocean Film Society does a very similar shtick, which is often quite good. I like movies with Mikey. If you want like a more personal
Right.
take on these things. Uh,
Oh, do you
mm,
know?
mhm.
Oh, sorry. Say what you were gonna say.
I was just gonna say like Lindsay Ellis and the rest of them as well.
Oh, okay.
Although it's not as technical. Yep.
Have you history? What's it called? History buffs. Is that what it's called? Have you watched any of those?
No.
I've only watched a couple. They're pretty good. They're like historical like analysis of films.
Ah, cool.
And they've got very good like mix of the history and like film theory and like a bit of banter as well. And they did one in Zulu, which is pretty good. It's good because they review the film and also talk about the historical accuracy. So it's like a good mix because if you just watch historical accuracy things, it would get quite annoying because a
Mhm.
lot of the nitpicking that happens in that kind of department is just really annoying. But it's
Yeah.
like a really nice mix. Like they talk about Zulu and how like it's kind of revolutionary because it portrays both sides as like respectable and it's more about
Yeah.
like soldiers generally and stuff. It's a really good video. I recommend you watch that one. That
Mm.
was the very first one. And the other one I watched is the Death of Stalin video,
Oh, yeah.
which is one of my favorite films. Certainly one of my favorite films of recent years. And that
Mm.
one's also quite good about like how accurate it is
A lot
and
of people really like
stuff.
that film. I never really understood why.
Really, oh, I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Mm.
I don't know why.
Thing is,
Maybe I mean
it's clearly a film that either bounces off you or you really love it.
yes. I would say so. But yeah, I love that film. That's a great film. And yeah, so I'd recommend History Buffs. And Full Fat Videos is the other one I watch sometimes. They're a bit more. Um, I would say I've not watched them for a while, and they seem to have uploaded a lot of videos. So I don't know if they're going a bit more down the kind of like mass production route. I
Yeah.
think they
I
maybe
always hate
used
it
to
when they
be
do that.
more specific, or maybe I'm making it up and I'm getting confused with someone else. But they're quite interesting as well.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of interesting ones for like specific film series as well, isn't there, on YouTube?
Yeah.
Like
Uh,
channels that focus on specific ones, like Star Wars Fury, and there's
uh,
do you not like Star Wars Fury? I don't. I've not
uh,
really. I don't know if I've
I
watched
never
any.
watched one of their videos, but the channel name does not inspire confidence.
I think I've watched like one or two, but there's all sorts of things like that which are kind of interesting. But yeah, anything else you want to talk about? How are you doing this
Uh,
week?
Fine this
You good?
week.
Fine.
What's been going on with me? I started playing Stardew Valley again, and that was
Really
very fun. Uh,
nice.
I've been continuing with my marathon of all the Studio Ghibli films. So this week I watched Kiki's
Sweet.
Delivery Service and Only Yesterday,
Nice. Nice.
which are good films. To give a wee micro review, they
They're
would
good
be
films.
buy them. Um,
They'd
but
be buy them. Wow.
yeah, what have you been up? Even though they're available free, but what have you been up to then?
What have I been up to? Man, we talked. I don't know if I don't know. I'm struggling to remember what made it into the podcast last week.
Mhm.
Because we had all those issues. Hopefully, I mean, it'd be nice if it just worked this week. Fine. I've been playing Hearts of Iron a lot.
Oh yeah,
Last week I was kind of still in the early stages of playing it, and now I feel like I'm more into it. I've been playing some mods for that. It's
cool.
pretty fun.
Getting stuck in.
Um, Getting stuck in to it. It's quite annoying at times, and it's quite hard. I keep messing up, but it is fun. It's one of those games you really have to like learn, and I feel like I am starting to learn it, and maybe I'll take a break from it and then start a campaign that I can actually like do well in rather than just exist. But yeah, it's pretty good. What else have I been playing? I played. Did we talk about the tank building sim last week that
You
I've been
mentioned it
playing?
to me. I think that was after we finished.
Oh, was it actually finished? Yeah, I played what's it called? Tank Mechanic Simulator, where you make tanks and like you dig up tanks. It's I'd not played it for like a week, but it was pretty fun at the time. Um, One of those like simple, fun little games. I don't know. We like very different kind of games, don't we?
We do.
Um,
I'm a very story. I like story based stuff.
yeah. Whereas I like
Good.
making my own world a
Yeah,
lot more.
I
Or
hate having to craft things. But
I know you do.
that's the thing with Stardew Valley, right? Like that's one of the few games of that type
Yeah,
where I
that's not.
like it.
Is
Uh,
that
Well, it's about building your own farm. Like you don't have full
Yeah.
control. You have to like raise money yourself and stuff. But the idea is that your end goal is to have like a functioning farm.
Right. See, I feel like games like that. So you like games like that? Because some of those
Well,
are
this is more of
fun. They're kind of in
this is more of a
between.
like an exception to the rule for me. Like even with this, like I always
Right.
this anxiety where I'm like, am I doing the right thing? That like if I put down
Yeah,
like
that's the annoying thing with the Hearts of Iron game is obviously World War Two is a real thing that happened, and there's like stuff that you kind of have to do because the AI is doing it, and I feel like, but then I feel like that's me almost on like the opposite end of the spectrum where I'm like, I'd rather there was none of that, and like I could just do whatever I wanted, and know that it was me that was impacting the world and it was doing stuff. Whereas you're saying that you don't know what you're doing because it's not made it clear enough, and you
no,
like me.
no, no, no. It makes it clear enough. It's just like whenever you have a game that's about working on a long-term project,
Yeah,
uh,
you worry that you
worry
mess
about
up.
the starting step. Yeah, like I'm like, okay, I'm putting my chicken coop here because this is
Yes.
clear
Yeah.
patch
Yeah.
ground, and then I'm like, but what if 100 hours from now I'm like
Yeah.
laying out my irrigation system, and then like, oh no, there's a chicken.
Oh yeah, I hate that. I hate
I
that.
have to completely rebuild the entire thing.
But
Uh,
I feel like that's kind of so. But are you saying that it would be better if you were kind of told where to put the chicken coop?
no, I don't think so. I'm just saying. I think
Right.
it's a good way to have the experience. It's just a case of that's an issue, part of the experience that isn't for me,
Yeah.
or at least part of it that prevents me from maybe getting full. If I was the sort of person who didn't worry about that, I would enjoy it more.
Yeah, that's fair. Does that game have multiplayer?
Yeah, added a multiplayer update.
We could play that together.
Yeah, I have the Switch version, but
Oh, we couldn't play it
well,
together.
actually no, I have the PC version as well. It's just I don't
Do
have
you?
a functioning farm on that. But
Right.
oh no, because we
Well,
could
we
start
could
a farm
maybe.
together. We should do that.
How much is it?
It's like a tenner and a bit.
Oh, I could
That's
certainly
quick.
add it to my wish list or get it on some dodgy site.
It never goes on sale because it's very popular. So they don't need
Very
to.
popular, right? Well, no, yeah, we need more games to play together. I like playing games with people, and I don't get the opportunity much.
Mm.
Although I feel like I play games differently to other people. Like, I kind of sit down for hours and play it, and then when people
Yeah.
when I'm playing a multiplayer game, people have to leave. I kind of. But
Yeah.
what do you do? Do you sit for hours and play stuff?
Yeah, I'm
Or-
generally more that type of thing. Although
Right,
sometimes
so maybe-
like, I struggle with stuff like Nintendo has this thing like the Nintendo Switch Online where you get a lot of retro games free.
Right.
So like I often float among those because like they're all too hard to like enjoy
Yeah.
for any long period of time. So like I play
Yeah.
one for like 5 minutes and then move on.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I do that. I definitely do that sometimes. But when I really get into a game, I like to sit for hours. and
Yeah,
play it.
exactly.
I feel like it's quite hard to play online like that. Like even if I mean, it sounds like you're kind of the same. But even if we were to play with each other, like we're both doing our own thing, and then someone has to go, and then it's kind of like I feel like that's a problem with online gaming. In a lot of cases, like people have lives outside of it, and then
Well, this is a very personal problem, but like the internet in my house is shit, so I can't play online
Yeah.
in my bedroom, which means that I can only like do it in short bursts. So I never.
yeah,
Really
because then you have to move on. Yeah. No, but we should definitely find a game to play together. Well, we can play Civ 6, right? Because that's
Yeah,
free. That's
we got
free
that.
currently on our sponsor, the Epic
Game
Games
Store.
Store.
And Sid Meier
got it
himself.
free. Sid Meier is our sponsor. Is he?
Play,
Who is
play
Sid Meier?
Pirates. Sid Meier. He made.
Oh, I've heard that Pirates is very good.
It is. But yeah, Sid Meier is famous because he made Civilization. It's not like Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon or something like that, where like he's famous.
Right.
like-
Okay. Because Tom Clancy is obviously dead and
Yeah.
was not. I don't think was very involved with the games anyway.
Yeah, it was
I
just a
always find
license.
it very weird. Yeah, I find it
I'm
very
gonna
weird
look
that
up
like
Sid Meier just to make sure that he's still.
just to make sure see if he's still alive because it's so weird when a new Tom Clancy game comes out and it's like this guy has been dead for years and wasn't involved with the games anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of.
Sid Meier is still alive. He's 66 years old. So yeah, he made Civilization, which was like one of the first simulation video games. And
Right.
it's a series that continues to this day.
Yeah. Well, okay. So yeah, I mean, so Civ 6 is free on the Epic Store, so maybe we can play that with each other.
Yeah.
Even though it's probably neither of our kind of. Well, maybe maybe we'll get into.
Maybe we'll break.
You can, because you can always surprise yourself. I definitely surprise
Exactly.
myself with some of the games that I get into. Like
And perhaps-
and sometimes I buy a game that I'm really hyped for, and then I just like so disappointed in it. Like it's like I bought Surviving Mars, the Paradox game.
Yeah.
It's like City Skylines on Mars. I bought that when it came out, and I was like super hyped for it because I always used to like city builders and stuff.
Hmm.
And I should have known because I played City Skylines a bit, and I kind of didn't actually like it that much. And I should have known that I've kind of moved on from that genre a little bit.
Yeah.
Same with like Planet Coaster and like theme park games I used to love, and I've kind of not as into them now. But anyway, I got Surviving Mars like on release full price, and then I barely played it, and that kind of felt like a waste. And then the other one was something cleanup, like it was some cereal cleaner where you
Oh,
had to
okay.
like
Yeah,
go in and
that was
clean.
on Twitch Prime recently.
Right. So that was one that I was for some reason I was like really hyped for that when it came out, and I got it, and then I like played it. I played like the first mission. I was like, oh, this isn't that good, and that's always a bit disappointing. So I feel like you do surprise yourself quite a lot of games.
Yeah.
Which
And
are good.
perhaps what we're supposed to take away from today, if anything, is that any of us can surprise ourselves, even
By
if
being a
it is in
hero.
fact too late to be the hero.
To be the hero.
Uh,
That's good.
me
That's a good
signing
wrapping
off
up
because
thing.
that was my cool.
I think we should wrap up. We're pushing. We're over 2 hours now.
Yes.
What a podcast.
Thank
So
you.
we're now over the length of the film. So someone could have just watched the film
And
and
had a
then
much better time. But thank you
had a much better
for
time. But
listening
thank you.
to
If
this.
anyone's
If you did,
listened to this, oh what? Okay, did you pick up any quotes that we can use as a title?
oh yeah, I wrote down a bunch. I'll discuss it
Right.
with after the episode.
We'll discuss
And
that off.
if you've been listening to this, you'll know what we picked.
You know what we picked.
This-
Okay. What is there any ones you can pick out that someone could comment if they made it this far?
If
that
you've
we're
made
not
it
gonna
this
use as a
far,
title?
then you get to say the cool phrase. It's called personal hygiene.
Cool. So if you've made it to 2 hours 5 minutes in, comment personal hygiene.
Yeah. All
Cool.
right, folks.
All right, folks. Bye. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
I don't know how much people are going to listen to this, but you know what? It's something to do, and maybe people are interested in this film and they happen to see this or they look it up and it comes up. You know, I think that's one of the great things is that we're talking about these like really old obscure films, so maybe it will come up.
Just to clarify our relationship to you, if you are listening, we do this for ourselves. We don't care about you, but thank you.
Cool. All right. On that lovely note, bye everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening.